just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. Before we get into it, Bloke and Ringers Western collab drops tonight. That is Monday at 7 p.m. New South Wales time, 6 p.m. Queensland time. First time we've ever done work shirts. First time we've ever done trucker hats. Make sure to be there. A limited supply. On top of that, for all the Bloke community, this is also a Ringers Western drop, and they have a massive, massive following. They are an international company. So if you want to make sure you get the kit, make sure to be there at 7 p.m. New South Wales time, 6 p.m. Queensland time, because it may go really quickly. So that is tonight, 7 p.m. New South Wales time. First ever work shirts and trucker hats, Bloke and Ringers Western collab. Make sure to be there. But now that's out of the way. Gurino, mate, how was your weekend?
It's good, mate. We're up at Wagga. It was unreal. Had a great time on Friday night and got here in the studio, and Santa dropped us a little elf off for the show. How good?
Yeah, what's Will Ferrell doing from Elf here? What's going on here?
Fins up, boys. Fins up. Fins up for the Dolphins.
Mate, how was your weekend, Timmy?
Weekend was a belter, actually. Obviously, the show down in Wagga, which was such a good night. Awesome crowd again, so I really enjoyed it. Made my way out to Leichhardt Oval yesterday afternoon for the footy, watched the Tim Zoo fight before it. And actually, I rocked up 10 minutes late because of the Tim Zoo fight. And as I walked in, we were on the hill, but we were like, no, there's a bit of ball in play. Walked straight in behind the post, and Twal, 10 metres in front of us, went down for what we thought was his first NRL try. And obviously got pulled back. The crowd went nuts. So I had a ball there, despite probably not the best quality game of footy we've ever seen, but Leichhardt Oval was unreal. And phone was just pinging off left, right and centre all afternoon because of the old Finn. The Raiders getting I thought last week was tough, but this week's going to be tougher. The GOAT, Marky Nichols, was into me. The Dolphins social account were into me. It's pile in this week, so get amongst it.
Mate, actually, walking up the hallway here, I saw you rolling the shoulders over and I was going, is Timmy looking to wrestle?
Yeah, I wanted to punch Guru in the head for stitching me up once again. So I will preface it by saying, ate the humble pie last week with the Dolphins. I did think, after seeing what they did in round one, that they were capable of beating the Raiders in round two, particularly just being at Redcliffe and getting up for that game. I didn't think they were going to beat us, but anyway, boys. It's going to be a long 4 hours this one.
It's the internet. Doesn't matter what you said. If you picked against them, you picked massively against them. Guru
Cannon will clip up whatever you say and put it against you. So here we are.
Also, thank you to everyone that came out in Wagga. It was amazing. Great crew, a really, really cool crew. What a great night. And the Q&A, talking to everyone, it was fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah, it was a great night. Have you got your muesli bar box there?
Oh, yeah,
That's
actually.
probably the highlight of my evening.
So check it out, boys. So a lovely gentleman, Jacob, came up and gave us this. Bloke muesli bars. Best enjoyed shirtless. 6 bars per box. The muesli bar that really could be anything. I mean, this is a work of art. Greatness inside this box. This isn't just a box of ordinary muesli bars. This is a box full of the most phenomenal tasting muesli bars ever created. These phenomenal bars are definitely not fruity or hoppy, and you won't be satisfied until you've had 1,000 of them. And then its quote, it says, almost as good as the Cooma Stallions. Tim from Cooma. Warning, over-consumption may cause uncontrollable beet growth. I mean, seriously, may contain liver. It really doesn't get much better. Open here to break curses. That's what I love. It's the detail. It's a detail. So it's got a spot in the studio. And it actually has muesli bars in it. So there you have it, guys.
I loved when he was telling the yarn that he was at work on Friday making it. Every time his boss came past, he had to close down the Bloke muesli bar screen on it. So good. Unreal.
Loved it. So thank you so much to everyone that came to Wagga. Had a little personal moment when we were at Wagga. Obviously, everyone rocking up in the Bloke kit and all in their Bloke merchandise. And then we're watching the footy, and there's a dude with a Bloke shirt doing this. And I was like, this is crazy. How did this happen? How did something that out of my head become this? It's crazy. I'm super, super humble, guys. Thank you for the turnout. Now, it all goes again this week. We're heading all the way up to God's country, the mighty land of Queensland. These absolute losers won't know what hit them. So Rockhampton, we'll be at the Great Western Hotel, 6 p.m. this Friday, 6 p.m. local time, Queensland time. So 6 p.m. this Friday at the Great Western Hotel in Rockhampton. Make sure to be there, guys. As I said, it takes a lot of logistics to get everything sorted and getting up to Queensland. So if you're in the area, come down. have a beer, say hi, even if it's for an hour. People really enjoyed it. Both times, both shows, people have really enjoyed it. So make sure to get down to the Great Western at 6 p.m. this coming Friday.
Yeah, I had a few Queensland two-headed jokes the last 2 weeks. And I know I am way too much of a coward to use this Friday, so I might need some new material.
He's been rinsing and repeat the two-head jokes, seriously. Seriously. And next week at 6 p.m, we'll be at Gilligans in Cairns to finish off the regional tour, which is powered by Ringers Western. Now, guys, let's get into it. Accountability brought to you by Sportsbet. Now, if you're having trouble with your gambling or whatever, make sure to call 1-800-858-858, or you can go on our website, gamblinghelponline.org.au. You win some, but you lose more than you win, guys. So please only ever punt with money you can afford to lose, and punt just for a bit of fun with your mates. Don't go crazy with it. But brought to you by Sportsbet. Accountability. Absolute legends for coming on and supporting the Bloke platform. Literally this Thursday, I'm flying down to interview Alex Volkanovski at Sportsbet HQ. These are the kind of opportunities we can get partnered with the number one betting agency in the country. So really, really appreciate them coming on board. But let's get into accountability, shall we? Panthers 16, Souths 10. Panthers were paying $1.64. Souths were paying $2.26. We all went Panthers and Matty went Souths. So that's a minus. That's a 0 for Matty, 1 for us. I will say though, I mean, we'll get into the review, but it's the only time, well, not the only time, but it's like a loss that you can be kind of proud of as a South fan, I really think, because they were pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it was far from their best performance, but they hung in the contest, and that can take you so far in this competition.
Like even 16-10 at Panthers home ground, like even if the Panthers are flying and Rabbitohs are flying, is still a good result. Like they're the number one team in the comp.
Yep.
Anyway, Sharkies defeat the Eels 30-26. I went the Eels. They break my heart. What is doing? The game was there. Like, talk about what happened the week before. The game was there to be won. Shit the bed. Game was there to be won. They were literally winning the game. Boom, shit the bed. So thanks heaps for that, Eels. I'm bloody. So the boys are 2 for 2. I'm 1. Me and Matty are 1. 1 from 2. But here we go, baby. This is where I get me points back. Broncos defeat the Cowboys. Broncos paying $1.80. Cowboys $2. I went Broncos. Everyone else went Cowboys. Thank you. And didn't they look electric? Reece Walsh, the hottest man to ever walk this earth. Seriously. Roosters defeat the Warriors 20-12. We all went Roosters. So are we all even at the moment? I think we are. Oh, except for Matty. Matty's 1 behind.
And the cream rises. Here we go.
Oh, here we go. Dolphins defeat the Raiders 20-14. I went Raiders. We all went Raiders. Guru went Dolphins. What a call.
How good.
What a call. Bulldogs defeat the Storm 26-12. We all went Storm. Doggies were paying $3. You know what's crazy is I think I said on last week's podcast, $3 is too short. They should be further out.
And I think come game day, I think they were out to about 4s. They drifted even more.
It's honestly 4 is around where I would have them going into this game with the history of going down to Melbourne.
What a win for Canterbury.
Like the Dolphins, great win. The Broncos, great win. But this was the most shocking of the week.
And the Storm were never in it.
Like they got dominated at home. I can't remember I've seen that. When was the last time at home they'd been down 26-0 at halftime or whatever? Was it 26-0 at halftime?
Pretty close to.
Yeah, about that. Yeah. This was shocking. So Doggies paying $3, and if you got on it at $4, good on ya. Now Knights defeat the Tigers in a gallant effort. We all went Knights. Timmy went Tigers.
Imagine putting your faith in the Tigers, honestly.
You thought that you'd go there and they'd give you a win, you could come home.
It was one of them ones where I knew I was going to the game. You know what? I want to be behind them. I'm like, I'll tip them. I went Dewey, my Supercoach skipper. He was like, I really want to ride the Tigers this game with all the fans. And now I'm just like, I feel like one of the Tigers fans and what they've been through the last 10 years.
Now, Dragons defeat the Titans 32-18. We all went Dragons. Timmy went Titans.
Jesus Christ.
Awful Sunday.
Yeah.
Hate to win.
Who came up with this shit accountability segment?
So, is that a Guru win?
Don't act surprised, boys. Don't
I
act
think.
surprised.
Is it a Guru win, Timmy? Could you?
I reckon Guru got you by 1, Kempy, maybe?
Yeah, I think Guru got me by 1.
Yeah.
But that's brought to you by Sportsbet, guys. if you're going to have a punt, do it with Sportsbet, the best in the business, and they're supporting us, so support them. They're just as much a part of the Bloke community as you guys, so if you're going to have a punt, do it with Sportsbet. And look, they got the best app. They got the best, pretty much everything Sportsbet. We can all agree, Sportsbet.
For sure. And as Timmy said before, the Alex 12, $1.75 to score any time this year, stays alive.
It stays alive. Yeah, Alex 12, $1.75. Could you imagine if he goes over and they... Oh, my God, seriously. Now, just quickly... Sorry, guys. Oh, yeah. Also, some info from the weekend. Only 3 from 8 favourites won across the weekend. Wow. With 6 from 8 underdogs covering the line. Holy. Only 3 favourites. Holy moly. The 8-leg head-to-head multi paid $315. Oh, my God. Panthers, $4.50 into $4.20 to win the comp. Chooks, $6 out to $7 after winning. Interesting. Finns, now $2.88 to make the 8. They were $7 before round 1. $2.88 to make the 8.
Wow.
That's incredible. And then we've got Alex 12 was $7.50 to get off the career nudie run, and we all know what happened.
Just on the Finns too, they play Newcastle next week, who it's a short turnaround. They'll be without KP and Brayley, so
they could head to Broncos match 3 for...
I think they will. I genuinely think they will. They'll be 3-0. And shout out to Sportsbet, you're too smart for me. I saw KP go down and thought, oh, beautiful, I'll get on them next week. Suspended straight away. They knew what they were doing.
Oh, really? Suspended straight away?
Footy.
I mean,
Very good.
There's a reason they're at the top. There's a reason. That is eyes up footy. Eyes up footy. Honestly, what a weekend of footy, guys. As I said, brought to you by Sportsbet. Make sure to gamble responsibly. You win some, but you lose more than you win. So always be responsible with the guys. And thanks to Sportsbet for getting on board. Look, also, Dawn of the Dolphins. I'm sure those numbers are climbing when it comes to watching the documentary. Stan original documentary series, Dawn of the Dolphins, is streaming now only on Stan. A new history starts now. Unprecedented backstage access to the master coach, Wayne Bennett, and how he is building the Dolphins in their inaugural season. I've watched pretty much all of the first episode. It is such a good insight. Even there's a conversation where Wayne is saying he's an introvert. And you're going, what? Wayne Bennett, introvert, and hearing him, I guess it's good to hear a guy that's larger than life talk about his own struggles with certain things that a lot of blokes would struggle with. So great interview there. Then they go through the recruitment process. And there's crazy is they're showing you the list of who they wanted. It is so interesting. And then they go through the stats of how many players come off contract each year. It's 30%. 65% of players re-sign with their club. So they're really working in a margin of about 20%. Tiny. And even you hear him talk about he goes, get the Bromwich brothers, get Kofusi. He said, because you have those 3, you have a forward pack. And you're like, that is genius. Because he's right. And he goes through how getting the big dogs in, you can't have too many young guys, can't have too many old. It's just incredible. So make sure to watch it on Stan. It is so interesting to see how they go about it, all the ins and outs. And as a footy fan, even if Dolphins aren't your team or aren't going to be your team or whatever, it'll give you an insight into how your club is probably run. So that is Dawn of the Dolphins, Stan original documentary series. It is now streaming. So make sure to get a Stan account and watch the great Dawn of the Dolphins. Also, Bloke Lager still on special across all Bottle-O's. Bloke Lager, is now on special across all Bottle-O stores in New South Wales and on special across all Thirsty Camel stores in Queensland. Get your case of lager, $53. Wow. $53 in Bottle-O, every Bottle-O in New South Wales. $53 in every Thirsty Camel store in Queensland. Get onto the store locator on our website and find the nearest Bottle-O. Don't forget, if they don't have stock, just ask politely. They're probably sold out to get some more in for you. Now, let's get into the team of the week. Brought to you by Bloke Beer. It doesn't say that, Guru, but I just threw it in there. It's brought to you by Bloke Beer. So, team of the week. I'm going to go first this week. I'm going to go first.
How many halfbacks you picking this week?
Look, it's my team. I get to pick what I want.
Did Wayne get dropped, by the way?
Wayne's been dropped.
Where'd you pick Serraldo?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's a good point. Did Serraldo play footy?
Yeah, he's a lock forward.
Was he really? Yep. I want to get Serraldo in at lock. this week. Actually, that could become a running thing, just having a coach in there.
I saw there was a thing that someone sent me. It was like a flashback that someone posted on Facebook. I think it was the 2004 reserve grade grand final. Soward was the captain on one side and Serraldo was the lock forward on the other side back in 2014. Yeah, 2004. Sorry, yeah,
That's
a long time
crazy.
ago.
Soward hit the field goal.
That's the game. Well done. Nice
I remember watching that one.
The great Sammy Perrott at fullback. There's a few good little flashbacks there.
Okay. At number 1, hottest man in the world, Reece Walsh. Absolutely electrifying. At number 2, fan favourite, one of my most beloved players, Karaz. Isn't he just a competitor? I love it. Number 3, Farnworth. We say that, he's a fantastic centre, but maybe does he, like a couple of weeks ago, we're like, does he have that next kind of superstar step in him? I think he does. I think he's proven it this year that he's not only a game breaker, but there's a world, if he continues this form, he becomes one of the best centres in the game. If not the best. That's how good he's playing. It's crazy. Now, number 4, I went Averillo/Gagai. I might go Gagai just by the fact that... anyway, Averillo or Gagai. Number 5, I had Dominic Young. Some of the plays he did at the end there to keep him in the game, plus the meterage, plus the 2 tries. At number 6, I had Ezra Mam. At number 7, this is a tough one. I'm going to go Tricky Trindle. So I'm going to go Trindle, but special shout out to Sam Walker. Had a belter of a game, but 24 tackles, 0 misses. And I also got Sean O'Sullivan special mention as well. Lindsay Collins at 8. I had Little from the Dragons at 9. He was outstanding yesterday. Haas at 10. Nikora at 11. I had Preston from the Bulldogs, rookie, at 12. Jaman Hopgood at 13. Hamiso at 14. I initially had Will Kennedy because I thought he was outstanding for the Sharks, but Hamiso match winner, you got to have him there. The great Marky Nichols at 15. Tommy Gilbert at 16. And Tohu Harris at 17. What'd you have, Guru?
Yeah, mine's pretty similar. I had Reece Walsh, same as you. Kiraz, couldn't believe the work he got through. Herbie, I went Stephen Crichton in the centres. I thought he had a really good game for Penrith. Micah Sivo on one wing, 5'8". Who'd you have as I went Dill Brown. I thought for Parramatta, despite a loss, he was tremendous. And halfback, you mentioned 3. I think he's got different to me and you. I had Adam Reynolds, mate. I've got a good conversation point on Reynolds for us later. Lindsay Collins in the front row. I thought Wade Egan... There was about 3 times in the first half. I thought he was going to have to leave the field for sure, Wade Egan. He played through and had a great game. Tohu Harris in the front row with him. I had Nanai and Eli Katoa in the back row. Hopgood at 13. Then my bench, I went Will Kennedy, Blake Laurie, the big fella scoring, Marky Nichols and Tom Gilbert.
What did you had, Timmy?
Yep, Reece Walsh at fullback, Karaz and Big Sivo on the wings, Gagai and Swali'i at centre. Gagai, there were probably better performances by centres. I just thought he sort of typified the grid of the Knights yesterday and deserved to get a start on that side. Mam at 5'8". I actually went Mitchy Moses at halfback, so there were plenty of options across the board, and he was the top of them for me. Maxi King and Tohu up front, Wade Egan at 9, Nanai and Eli Katoa in the back row with Jermaine Hopgood. Will Kennedy, Laurie, the GOAT, Marky Nichols on the bench with Nikora.
Matty? Nah, just joking. There it is, team of the week, guys. Let us know what changes you have or what changes you would make. Let's get straight into the games, though, shall we? Because I was thinking about, do we do the big points of the talking points from the weekend? But we're going to get into those probably talking points in the game, so do it by order. But let's get to the games. Panthers v Rabbitohs. Again, we already kind of spoke about it, but first of all, I just want to get it out of my system because I got to say it. That Luke Garner knock on that didn't even get looked at. Maybe I'm going crazy, but that is a knock on every single day of the week. How it was not even looked at. How we didn't even see a camera angle in the try replay. It was like... It just blows my mind because it makes you start to question, like, how come we're not even seeing in a replay where we can see in a direct line if it came out or not? But it doesn't mean the Panthers didn't deserve to win the game at all. I just thought that some of the calls over the weekend, and I know we try to be very positive with the refs and that, the thing is, I always say this, the calls on the fly, I'll cop nearly every day of the week because it's like, things happen so quickly, it's like a knock on from a player. It's when you're watching the video ref, has all the opportunity to go, hang on a sec, and they don't, you go, what I don't understand. So anyway, that just was, I don't know. Well, am I going crazy or was that a knock on?
We check everything.
Everything.
Why wouldn't you check that?
It was
insane.
outrageous.
I couldn't. I was just when it was confirmed with no second look, I couldn't believe it.
I couldn't believe they didn't look at it, but I wasn't as strong on it being a knock on. I thought you could definitely argue it came out backwards, and I was happy for it to be given as a try. That being said, cannot believe it wasn't. They didn't go upstairs for it, and if they did go upstairs and called it a knock on, I would have been like, okay, sweet. But yeah, I'm not as heavy against it. I can see.
I just think that technically you could go, oh, was it directly not was it? That has been called a knock on since forever. You do that coming out of your own end, and someone just dives on the ball. You reckon that's not getting called a knock on?
That has been in the past, but as an isolated incident. It didn't come in contact with anything coming out of the arm, I don't think. And if we're drawing...
We didn't even get to see whether it did, though.
Yeah. And then if we're drawing a straight line, I thought it went backwards.
Really?
Yeah.
Far out. That's crazy. Matty, what do you reckon, bro?
It's actually funny. We were checking into Wagga as this was kind of happening, and I was at the desk, and Timmy was watching it on his phone. And he's like, oh, Penrith scored. I'm like, fuck. And he's like, oh, no, don't worry. I think they're going to call this back. They're going to call this back. Turn the phone off. And then it wasn't until we got to the pub where we looked at the score and it was 10-0. I'm like, Timmy, what do you mean? It was 4-0 before. What are you talking about? And he's like, oh, fuck. But then, yeah, we had a look at the replay. And at the time, I was happy. I was actually happy with the call. I didn't even know, honestly didn't even know they didn't check it. But then I saw another replay of it on, I think it might have been Saturday night. And the more I look at it, the more I think it's a genuine knock on. He didn't even try and pass the ball. It just pops out.
The thing is, that is regardless of whether it was line or forward or whatever, that's been called a knock on forever. Forever.
I feel as though there's another angle out there that I didn't see because people are so strong about it. And I was like, from the angle that I saw on, I think it must have been KO, I thought it went backwards. But then people are so strong about it, I've missed an angle here somewhere.
Mate, look, maybe I'm going crazy, but I just think that it's just been called. It's for example, how many times did you watch over the last 10 years, a bomb will go to a fullback and he'll drop it and technically it goes backwards, but they call it a knock on.
Yeah. Or you get a pass from dummy half that's here and you drop it.
Yeah.
Technically it has gone backwards, but it's a knock on every single time.
Every single
it's
time.
going to be.
I'm looking at it as an isolated incident. But from what we've seen in the past, called a knock on all the time.
Sure. But in saying, and I'm more talking about the call. I'm not saying Penrith wouldn't have won the game. I thought Penrith were outstanding. If that was the only call from the weekend, I probably wouldn't be saying anything. Yeah. You can take it off now, mate. You've done your duty. You've done your duty.
You still look like a dickhead.
Yeah, I know.
If it was an isolated poor call from the ref over the weekend, I'd just be like, yeah, whatever. I probably wouldn't even. But I mean, there were some absolute howlers over the weekend.
What did you think? And I personally thought they got it exactly right, but I've seen a lot of pushback online. When Nathan Cleary was standing up and his finger touched the ball in Tom Burgess' hands and he lost it, they called knock on Tom Burgess. Do you remember that one? It was at the start of the game. It was about 15 minutes. I thought it was the exact right call. I thought it was a loose carry.
It was definitely a loose carry.
100%. If your finger strays past the ball and the ball falls out.
Yeah, you got to carry it stronger than that.
Yeah, 100%.
There's got to be some onus on the ball
carrier.
carrier.
I actually thought that was a fantastic, and I think that people going by the book, black and white, not using any footy context whatsoever, said it was the wrong call. But I was so glad the referees made that. It was common sense. Hold the ball tighter.
Yeah, 100% hold the ball tighter. And also, the ball came out like that, but I didn't see enough force from Cleary's hand to make that. Yeah. You know what I mean? That was more, I think, Burgess pulling it that way and kind of. It was
a great common sense call by the bunker, which is good to see.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, there's going to be some people that, the Cheekham try, as in the offload, that his hand scraped the ground. To me, that's a 50-50 call that can go either way.
Yeah.
That's not a clear, because he's got momentum. He doesn't hit the ground and then offload. He's literally, as he's falling, goes like that. And it just happens to graze
the other one that was interesting was, and Matty, who was it? Someone from South was trying to play the ball and Jerome Luai was at first marker. And they went to stand up, and as they stood up, the ball hit Jerome Luai's knee.
Oh, yeah.
And they said that he's got to obviously clear the ruck, but it's a tough one when you're like that. He's obviously not trying to, he's trying to get off the tackle. I mean, what's to stop you from jamming the ball into the player's knee?
Yeah.
It's a hard grey area, that one. I don't know what the answer is.
See,
there,
ones like that, like the Cheekham one, the Jerome one, like I'm happy to go, that's a 50-50 tough call.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Whereas when I see stuff that, like, we've been calling that a knock-on for so long and they don't get it. I mean, there was, like, the double movement from Stefano on the weekend.
That was wild. Yeah.
Like, are you serious?
There was even one last week where the Roosters, someone threw a cutout ball to Nat Butcher and he was standing like that. It went straight through his hands, hit his chest and rebound backwards. And the bunker called a knock-on, thankfully. But the commentators were like, I mean, it didn't touch his hands as it play on. I'm like, when has that ever not been a knock-on? If you're attempting to catch a ball, it hits you in the chest or shoulders, it's a knock-on. Yeah. End of story.
Mate, that Stefano one, like how they were like, oh yeah, his body. But if he had kept the ball like that, it would have given the fullback a chance to go. Yep. Like he would have been able to hold him up better. But it's because he went like that. He could think about how different that is. Like people obviously watch on YouTube. There's a huge difference between this and that.
Yeah.
Like it's try and stop someone from like that. Now try and hold someone like that. It's much easier. You've got a handle right there. Crazy call. Then there was one, the Roosters game. Lindsay Collins clearly shouldered Jackson Ford in the head. Like clear contact, shoulder to head, not on report, no penalty. I just, like, what is... Brain explosion. Jackson Ford gets taken off. Some of these calls I just don't understand. And again, it's more about the consistency of it. Like, blokes were getting sent 10 like little taps on the head. Jackson Ford literally shoulder to head. You can see it right there. Not even on report. Like,
and it ends his afternoon. And really screwed the Warriors over.
Massively. So some of the calls on the weekend, just, again, it's that in play, I'll cop the 50-50s all day. It's part of rugby league. But if we've got a video ref and you're making howlers still, I don't understand that.
You're constantly telling us how good the bunker is and how effective it is. You've got to get them right. Yeah. Or close to right. Or look like you're trying.
Or like the Stefano one. Like, in what, like, who honestly thought that wasn't a double movement? Like, I don't know. Anyway, back to the Panthers Rabbitohs. Look, I think there'd be some that would argue, okay, maybe we're hyping Panthers up too much because the Rabbitohs forward pack were missing essentially 4 of their front rowers, really. And that's where Panthers won the game, through the middle. But I still think that the Panthers looked much better than last week. Are they as damaging and devastating as they were last couple of years? No, I don't think they are. But I thought that Fisher-Harris and Leota looked like their usual selves. They looked a bit flat last week and the week before. They look like their usual selves this week.
Yeah, we're not telling you the Panthers are back to their absolute peak, but they're definitely heading in the right direction. You could see improvements there. And I understand South Sydney, that they were missing players and whatnot, but South Sydney are just one of those clubs that, no matter who's running out for them, they're going to have a red-hot crack. So, yeah, Penrith, I think they're heading in the right direction. I think it'll be very interesting. We said this last week. They're going into a camp in Kiama this week, the Panthers. So, obviously, just a chance to regroup and get their thoughts together again. And I reckon it'll be very interesting to see the Panthers side that comes out in 2 weeks against Parramatta on Thursday.
Yep. Timmy, what do you reckon about the game, mate?
Yeah, but similar enough to you boys. I thought, as you said, the Bunnies can take so much out of it. With so many middles out, Davey Malali was even taken off after 10 minutes. Shaq Mitchell got through big minutes, got through a heap of work. They'll take a lot out of that loss. I don't think... While the Panthers weren't outstanding, there weren't many teams that would have been going to Penrith after Penrith coming off 2 losses in a row that would have beaten them in that game. Penrith was solid enough, better signs, but still not the Panthers of old just yet.
Just yet. I mean, they may build into it. We did discuss earlier, I think it was a preview of the season, basically saying you almost want the Panthers to warm into the season because they physically can't do what they've been doing. Look, and I'm happy to be proven wrong, and they've proven us all wrong for the last 2 years. I just can't see how it's humanly possible to go again and only lose 3 matches for a whole season.
Yeah, and I would suggest that Ivan would almost be sitting here going, after Origin, we press go.
Yeah, I think so.
For us.
It'd almost be silly to press too hard too early.
Yeah.
I will say I loved seeing Stephen Crichton get back to his best. Because the thing is, he's not playing that much differently, but he just removed the errors from the game. Just smoothed it out a lot. Like, you could tell that was a focused Critter.
Yeah.
Whereas, we discussed last week, I do feel like Critter was probably struggling with everything that happened in the off-season and kind of the negative press around him. Because I like it. It's not just a normal player playing for a normal club. It's a guy that has a deep connection to the area. when you're from areas like that, I can't speak for everyone, and this is just my opinion, but there is a sense of loyalty. Like we are from a tough area. We stay together because no one gives a shit about us. And so it's almost, that would mean more to Critter than a lot of other players because he's dealing with a different kind of community. Now, it's not to say that if you're from a better off area that you're not loyal at all. I'm just saying that he is from an area where loyalty is everything. And so when you're getting painted as a guy that isn't loyal to the area, it can affect your mentality. It really can.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that it showed with that back five. You know, last year you get to hear every Monday, you go, geez, Brian Toto ran for 250 metres. He ran for 168, but all of them ran for over 130, their entire back five. And I think it was Joey Johns had an interview with Taruva after the game, and he sort of said, you guys ran for a lot of metres. He went, yeah, it was a big thing for us back five that we were going to help the other boys. It wasn't going to be up to one guy. And Joey sort of said, you topped it. And he sort of went, did I? How good's that? Like, he was excited that he did it compared to your Totos, your Dylan Edwards, these sort of guys. So, yeah, a real team effort by Penrith.
Yeah, for sure. And Taruva was outstanding. It's
great.
Like 20 carries, 200-plus metres, absolutely outstanding. And to think that you can bring in a guy like that on this team.
And also, like, if 6 weeks ago we said, round two we're going to be saying Taruva was terrific, you're like, he scored 3 tries. No, he was just taking tough carries.
He was in my team of the week until literally Knights, Tigers.
Yeah, and if you would have picked him, it would have made complete sense to me. Yeah.
What I love about Panthers is they have a standard for their backs and they make everyone meet it. And if you don't meet that standard, then you don't fit their system. And it would suck for outside backs that have other stuff to offer. But they got a system and they make sure that even if, like, Taruva's not that big, like he's big for a normal person, but not big for an outside back.
He had the least amount of tackle breaks out of the back five and had the most post contact.
Yeah, because he was just going all day and he got jammed a few times, gets back up, goes again. So Taruva was outstanding. It was good to see Critter back to where he's at. Almost silence. There was a bit of noise going about him. He's not a good buy for the doggies and that. And it's one game at fullback, guys. Seriously, like, we're so quick, and I get it. It's part of the fun of rugby league. You know, you ride the highs and you ride the lows and you talk shit. It's all part of rugby league. So I'm not sitting there saying don't have, strong, passionate opinions. But sometimes we just need to be a bit more patient with players. Critter is 22 years old. 22 years old. He has plenty of time to learn what he needs to.
And, mate, I'm sorry. First two years of Dylan Edwards' career, no one thought he was going to be anything special.
Mate, not anything special. I thought he was nowhere near first grade standard.
The debut was awful.
Like there was
a stinker, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Remember? No, I think his debut was good. I think it was a couple games after because I think his debut he ran for like a record amount of metres.
Well, he had an awful game in his first few.
Dropped like 6 or 7 balls.
Yeah.
And I'm going, how is this guy still in first grade? And Ivan Cleary, to his credit, Ivan Cleary doesn't get anywhere near the credit that he deserves. I mean, he took a Warriors side to the grand final. Like. He doesn't get anywhere near the credit he deserves. And he's matured as a coach for sure. But at the time, Ivan Cleary backed him to the death. He was like, people were like, what is this kid doing in first grade? 6 drop balls, rah. And Ivan Cleary just backed him. Now he's sitting, equal second or third? Don't kill me, Matty. Don't kill me. He's in the top 10-ish for Dally M points.
How good was it to see also on Dylan Edwards lipping off? Like one of the nicest blokes in the game, and he was lipping off all games. They were clearly trying to get under his skin or something had happened to fire him up, but lipping off at blokes, standing up to blokes, and then saving the game by knocking the ball dead with that scramble on the buzzer.
Yep.
It was, I loved seeing that.
And I love because the Panthers, the Panthers lose, there are so many people waiting to put the boot in. And I think the Panthers can feel that. So they're like, you know what? If we're going to be the bad guy, we'll be the fucking bad guy then. Because you call us a bad guy anyway, so fuck it.
And they back it up.
And they do. They really do.
Get upset all you want, they back it up. Stop them.
It's funny, like Greg Alexander, the whole drama with the Tigers and Knights at the end of the game with Hastings, Clemmer and Talau. Greg Alexander said what most footy players say, winners are grinners and winners get to talk. Yep. If you want to change it, change it. Like,
And I've put it out a number of times. You go back to after the 2020 grand final they lost. They're humble as all hell. They're not carrying on a treat. They took it on the chin. They came back bigger and better and stand in their way.
Absolutely. Great performance by the Rabbitohs. So it's going to be interesting to see. They're going to be a really interesting team to follow because you almost don't want them to go back. You don't want them to be the Penrith of the last 2 years because you're going to be like, there's no way they can hold on to that for the whole year. And maybe they can, but I just don't see a world where they can go another season only dropping 2 or 3 games. I just, with the improvement of the competition, with the rules, it's funny, like, we've made all these rule changes, but we're almost back to where we were. We really are. That you get penalties inside your 40, and then there's a few 6 again calls. Like, there's been a tiny tweak.
So what are we, 16 games in? Have you seen a player with 2 feet on their try line defending it, or what?
So apparently, I chased it up. Their argument is that the try line is that technically not the field of play. It's the dead ball. It's the dead ball. So therefore, you don't have to have 2 feet behind it.
I mean, they've come to the right conclusion. They went the hardest way possible to come to the right conclusion. That sounds ridiculous, but we're where we want to be anyway. So
yeah,
so be it.
I think mostly we've given refs weapons to negate the wrestle. The wrestle's still there. Like, the amount of times I see 6 against not get given, and players are like, and they're all like, it's like, I wonder if the refs do wrestling, because I feel like if the refs did wrestling, they would see the bullshit. The amount of times I hear milking, I'm like, milking? He's in a bloody chokehold. What are you talking about? But yeah, I think the game's in a really good place. I really do. Aside from the howls or whatever, I think we've got the good mix between trying to attack the wrestle. The good thing with the refs is, even though there's sometimes I don't give it, at least they have a weapon to go, boys, you keep wrestling, I'm just going to go 6 again, 6 again, 6 again. And then the players go, oh shit, we've got to get off the tackle quickly.
Yeah, and in 10 years' time, we'll be whoever's us in 10 years, we'll be sitting here going, okay, it's not wrestling anymore, it's this.
Yeah,
how do we
it'll be something else.
this? There'll be something else that takes over, because that's how the game develops.
Like, only 3 favourites won on the weekend. How good is that for rugby league? Yeah. Like, rugby league's in a really good spot, and you've got to give credit where credit is due.
Random stats guy had one I saw pop up. Was it first time in the NRL era that after 2 rounds, no side from the top 8 last season was in the top 4. I know it's only 2 rounds in, and I know teams had the bye, so make it what you will. But regardless, it's good to see, as you said, upsets everywhere.
Yep.
That's what we want to see in footy.
100%. It engages fans. Like, so right now, Sea Eagles number 1, Dolphins number 2, Dragons number 3, Broncos 4, Panthers 5, Rabbitohs 6, Warriors 7th, Titans 8th. It's like, I know it's 2 rounds, but it's still, at least they're there.
Great to see.
Yeah. What about, Nathan Cleary, when he went off hobbling? Talk about the Panthers going, because they haven't had to deal with, like, they'd had to deal with him when he got suspended. I think it was like, 6 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
But they haven't had to deal with, like, a key player out for a long period.
Yeah, well, they had, was it 2021 after Origin? They lost Luai and Nath for X amount of weeks, but they had top 4 sewn up.
Yeah,
so
it wasn't stress.
Yeah.
And everyone knew week 1 of the finals, they'd be back.
Sweet.
Now, there were questions, and we asked the question, would they be match fit, ready to go? They came out and fucking blitzed it, so yeah, they were. But they haven't had to deal with that. And although I would never, I'm not wishing injuries on anyone, fucking no way. But it is a part of rugby league. It will be interesting to see how they deal with it.
And that's where you're sitting there going, fuck, if they do lose a half, Sean O'Sullivan's not there. Isaiah Katoa's not there. They brought Jack Cogger back.
Just quietly, Guru, did Panthers let go of the wrong 7? Because there's 1 7 that's 2 for 2, and there's 1 7 that's lost. The great SOS, Sean O'Sullivan.
Same with the 5'8", Katoa too.
He's been dudded. Sean O'Sullivan's been dudded. Maybe they should have... Mate, there's going to be an article in Daily Telegraph tomorrow. Let go of the wrong 7. Big SOS on the front of the Daily Telegraph. Could you imagine, as a troll? That would be all time from the Telegraph. If there was a genuine article going, here's all the things that Cleary did wrong in the first 2 games. The great Sean O'Sullivan has gone on to fucking do.
And we know if there's one bloke to write it, it's Buzz Rothfield.
Oh,
Buzz will eat that one up.
Mate, imagine the response. It would probably be the most read story all year. People would lose their mind. Yeah. Seriously, if you're a journo, do it as a troll. Who gives a shit? Because you know what? Just write staff writer. Just write staff writer.
If it's not Buzz, it'll be a Batuta that my dad yells at. Yeah. Without realising.
Oh, fuck. Batuta is so good. Oh, my God. How do they stay so on point for so long? It's just...
They never miss.
They never miss. And it's always... like, whatever they say, there's always a kernel of truth to it. Even if it's, like, directed at you, like, as in you're the butt of the joke, you have to go... yeah, they're kind of right. They're kind of right.
I think it's like an art. Like, I don't have the ability to do it. It's an art form to make headlines like that completely take the piss, but you can tell they're satire at the same time. Yeah. But there's truth in every single one.
100% truth in it.
In 8 words.
It's incredible. Perfect. It's incredible. Like, whatever they're getting paid, it's not enough.
Yeah.
They should be worth so much money. Anyway, back to the Panthers. Outside of that, you know what's crazy as well? I reckon Dylan Edwards, and this is going to sound stupid because he's a fullback, but I think he has now become almost a key player, not on Nathan Cleary's level, but I would argue that Dylan Edwards is more of a key player than Jerome Luai for the Penrith Panthers. And that's not taken away from Jerome Luai at all.
There's an argument there, though, for sure. And, I mean, I think the evidence is there when he's not playing.
They're a different side. Like, he is so important to them. Jerome Luai's kick, though, on that Luke Garner thing was amazing.
Yeah.
To do the splits, what is he doing the bloody Usher splits? You've been watching too much Usher, Jerome. Chill on the Usher, bro. You got it bad. Have a breakup or something, bros. We need to talk. Shoot us a DM, Jerome. Jesus, doing Usher splits on the field, kicking. Holy. But anyway, that was like, to nail that kick, and that's what he offers, is just like every now and then he'll just do something where you go, oh, wow. Like, that's why they, kept him over a guy like Matty Burton. I'm not saying he's better than Burton. I'm just saying that's why.
And when he's not doing the old wow things, he just gets most things right in other parts. Like, he just does his job. He just plays his role in this team. And that's what quite often, like, and I understand he's done things that people might not appreciate, but people, think that he wants to be the star of the show. His football is the opposite. He just plays his role in this footy side.
Yeah, he does. I will say, I'm so mixed on Luke Garner because I loved his energy on the weekend. I thought his energy, he was running crazy strong lines. He ran for quite a few metres. I think he had his most runs since being at the club, but he also had like 3 or 4 errors. So I'm actually, people that are filthy on Garner, I say give him another few weeks because he can sort the errors out. Even though technically you would say not a great game because of the errors, he's finding his space in the side. Give him a few weeks to sort the errors out. If he had 0 errors in that game, it's a great game by Garner. And he's kept his spot for the week. What did you guys think of Garner?
Yeah, I was sitting here last week thinking he is just about good as gone. I didn't think he'd be able to survive the next few weeks, but he impressed me the other night. He looked better. He did have those couple of errors and whatnot, but I think that he's definitely warming to that task on the left edge.
9 tackle breaks.
Yep.
He had 10 runs, 97 metres, so basically 10 metres a run.
He had a few offloads.
A line break. He had 2 offloads. He had a line break assist, 30 tackles, 2 misses.
And 2 tries disallowed.
So, and I think that was like the errors that, so he had, and then he also had that should be in try assist. Where's the try assist? What's going on here? And then a try assist. And so he had those few errors, but again, that's just like, he's been playing footy for so long, you can coach that out. It's totally fine. That can happen. I think that's a great game from Garner.
I did think it was interesting. The reserve grade team played at 5 o'clock that afternoon. Lindsay Smith and Zach Hosking played that game. They pulled Lindsay Smith after 41 minutes so that he could be the 18th man that night, and they let Hosking play the full 80 on the left edge.
Wow.
So I don't think I don't think the case is closed yet. I think Hosking
for sure
definitely it's far from closed yet. But I think Garner helped his cause the other day.
He helped his cause the other day. As I said, a couple errors or whatever it was, but I'm sure Ivan's sitting there going, we can sort that out.
Yeah, big time. I thought Garner was great. And it speaks volumes that, like, he knew the pressure was on him with Zach Hosking in reserve grade piling it on. So if he didn't have a good game, he could have been out of that side. So I genuinely believe he's building match fitness to get to become that 80-minute player for them. And I reckon there was potential that he was underdone, and we saw that with the minutes he played in round 1 and round 2. But they used him for what he's good at, and that's his line running ability. He looks so dangerous. And as much as it's on him, like the combination with Jerome Luai, who's working with a completely different background to what he has done for years, it was always going to take time. And there's signs there after 2 games together that, I think they'll be fine. So I thought Gunn was great. And you're right on the errors, Kempy. You can get them out of your game.
Yeah, for sure. It's just, sometimes you have games, you have a couple of errors, like it's rugby league.
What did you, and I please don't want people to take this as me trying to create something between Luai and Salmon. I don't think it was at all. What did you make of them moving Liam Martin to the left side in the back end of the game when they took Garner off and they put Salmon on the right? Do you think that's just Salmon just prefer to be on the right, or?
No, I think they've realised they need someone damaging with Luai. A big part of Luai's game, and that's, Salmon, he's a battler. He's a utility, but he's not breaking lines.
Well, he was a halfback 2 years ago.
Yeah. So I think they just realised that for Luai's game to be unlocked, he needs a beast outside him. And so they moved Martin across there for that specific reason, because so many, we speak about it ad nauseum. The Panthers whenever they need something to get out of trouble, Luai gets the ball and he gives it to his wide running forward. It used to be Kickow.
Yep.
Now it's Hoskins. Now it's Garner and also Liam Martin. So I don't think any.
Don't think too much.
No, I don't think so. I just think that they know that on the other side, it's not because they're on the left side, aren't they, Luai, and that?
Luai left.
Yep.
So it's left to right. They're passing. So basically, they're banking on our left side's our strong side at all times.
Yep.
Yeah. So because look, when you think about it, Liam Martin moved across there. He had 7 tackle breaks in total. Garner had 9. So at the very least, there were probably 13 to 14 tackle breaks by a wide running forward on that edge.
Yeah, that's fair. Yep.
Going back to with the combinations and particularly in the spine there, Sonny Luke, who Mitch Kenny went off for a while with HIA. I think Sonny had a HIA there as well at one point. But Sonny Luke, who will build into more game time as the season goes on, you could just tell how different it was for Sonny. He took off at times when he shouldn't have. There are times where Luai and Cleary was calling for early ball and he'd dart off and go the other way. And that's what he would have done all season. In New South Wales Cup last year, he was such a key part. He's finding his feet in this side and the balance, it's all changed. So that's one between Cleary, Luai and Sonny Luke that it's going to take a bit of extra time, I think, for them to work each other's game out.
For sure, because it was an interesting dynamic. You could see they were more dangerous out of dummy half, but you could also see moments where Luai was like, give me the ball, or Cleary was like, give me the ball. That's just going to take time. And he had an injury in the off-season too at hammy.
Yeah, he is actually recovering from that hammy, so there is reason why Ivan Cleary's doing what he's doing, as we spoke about last week. So I think it will take a few more weeks till he's back to playing his best. But you think about, they've got a new hooker in him, even the left edge, the back row is gone. The winger's also gone, Taylor May. So, a lot has changed with this side. It is just going to take time, as it would for any other side. I think we're just so used to the Panthers being this invincible force that never gets anything wrong. It's going to take time.
Yeah. Now on to the Rabbitohs. What a performance. What a gutsy performance. We'll talk about the Knights being the gutsiest performance of the weekend, but I would say the Rabbitohs and Dolphins are up there. What a gutsy performance. What about Isaiah Tass? I know we tipped him up before he'd even played first grade for the Rabbitohs, and we basically said he's the guy that can be that extra centre, but he's been outstanding in defence and attack. He has been so good for the last few weeks.
In a week, for our team of the week, in such a hot field of centres that killed it, he was probably the forgotten guy there. I thought he was tremendous for South Sydney the other night. He was great, and you can just see him maturing week on week. And there was times when he came in last year, and we spoke about how he went in Queensland Cup and thought he could be the guy. There was also weeks last year in first grade where I went, is he the guy? Is he? But he's just same as Lockie Ellis. He's just improving week on week. It's great to see.
Absolutely. And I think it was the first few weeks he struggled defensively.
Yep.
Then you go and look at this and you go, he had a try, 168 run meters, 19 runs, 3 tackle breaks, a line break, 12 tackles, 0 misses. I mean, what a knock. What a knock against the reigning premiers. It's just, it's a sign of a really good club that you can take a guy that was with the Dogs, went up to the Broncos, couldn't get a start at either of those clubs, comes down to Rabbitohs and all of a sudden is killing it.
Yeah. And that's going up against the right edge. That's not the edge that's had all the changes. That's Stephen Crichton and Brian Toto.
I know. It's fucking not bad at all.
And Nathan Cleary, Liam Martin.
Yeah.
It doesn't get... It's a... you wouldn't be able to form many better rep edges than that, realistically.
And we'll talk about it quickly in regards to... Because, what can we add to the conversation? Obviously 3 white fellas or 4 white fellas. But the troll situation and the racist remarks... I'm not even Indigenous and I'm sick of it. And so imagine how he feels. And we don't even see... the lived experience Trell has to go through. Now, I understand he's a superstar. I understand he makes a lot of money. That does not excuse this stuff. There is no amount of money that would ever soften the blow of something like that. We're talking hundreds of years of history behind comments like that he has to deal with. We're talking about every day he wakes up and he has to consider that. It is unbelievable. And some people might try to say, he's 15, the kid allegedly, reportedly or whatever. I'm sorry. When you're 15, you know not to say racist remarks. That's a learned behaviour. He's heard people that have either raised him or people around him saying that. Now, Nico Hines has kind of come out and said, we should, instead of punishing him, we should bring him into the All-Stars. I do believe he should be punished, but I also believe that again, this is just a white person's opinion. I have no say in it. Like, what does my opinion matter on it? But I do think education is best, because if you can turn that kid around, that's one less racist. Now, is it the responsibility of Indigenous people to do that? No, it's not. They should not have to take time out to educate people, to treat them as a fucking human being at all. But if they are willing, I do think education is key. It really is key.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak for you, but this show's called Bloke. Part of that is decency. And that I just, whoever, man, child, whoever it is, you've got family, you've got friends. If you hear your family or friends doing it, pull them up. I'm sorry, you have to, but it's outrageous. And as you said, education, mate. I used to be a teacher. I taught at a school that had about 60% Indigenous rate, and just the education that you got from being in the school and being around those, and like the appreciation that all the other kids had for that culture was unbelievable. It was great. Education, it isn't just a throwaway line. It's a proper fucking thing.
It matters. But that's the thing, like, we all got educated. Like, I grew up, I didn't know anything about the Indigenous culture. We learned it in study of religion, and that was it. So I knew a little bit about the Dreamtime. I had no idea until I started playing rugby league, and an Indigenous family essentially took me in. I was sleeping on their bloody couch and floor and took care of me. And that's where I learned about their incredible culture, and just that there is a culture that is separate to our own, that is different to our own. So anyway, I feel for Latrell, because... So he has that happen to him, comes out, plays incredibly. The mental toughness of this guy is amazing. But then on top of all that, he has the decency. He could have easily said, fuck this, I'm going in the changing room and finish the game or whatever. He gets interviewed by Channel 9, he's upbeat, he's happy. He just asks him, can we not talk about it? And I just think it's so sad that he is so used to this happening that he has to go, no, let's not talk about it. Because he doesn't want to have to deal with the backlash, which is fucking crazy, that he gets abused and then he'll get backlash even more if he comes out and stands up for himself. That's the position this poor bloke's in now.
And it's the other thing that makes it tough, because Latrell has been the guy that has stood up to this stuff for so long, and I've respected him for it for so long. And I know it's easy for me to say, but I really hope Latrell doesn't back down from this sort of stuff.
But it's like, he's a person first.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Human first. Like, his mental health matters.
Yep.
He can't be fighting battles in the media every single week. It's bullshit that he's even in this position. So anyway, it's disgusting. And, some people try to make it, it happened out here, or was this jersey, or was that jersey. This is not a rugby league phenomenon. This is an Australian-wide situation. It has nothing to do with the Penrith Footy Club or anything like that. This is deeper than rugby league. So, yeah, very, very sad. Very sad that happens. And I just hope Latrell's all good. And I know he will be all good, because he's fucking more mentally tough than most people.
It's just like I saw on social media, someone the argument, the person said it was in this jersey. Not the fucking point.
Doesn't matter.
So far from the point, it's not even funny.
What do you reckon? Like, clubs are going out there telling their fans to do that. Every club has a huge Indigenous part of it. It's not about each club. So, yeah. Anyway, just sad, man. It sucks that we still have people that do things like that.
And once again, JD, the coach, absolutely nailed it.
Yeah. Because what I loved most about it is, like, the words were good or whatever, but what I loved about it was the emotion of it. You could tell he cared. He cared about Latrell. He cared about the situation. So anyway, get back into rugby league. Hopefully Latrell's all good, and however they decide to handle it, we should all get behind them for it. Who else stood out for you guys? Cookie had some good moments. Got through a bunch of work. Keon got through a bunch of work, as he always does. Isn't he just like Keon? Almost like, he had his breakout kind of boom year last year, but he's just so consistent now.
He's one of those guys now that we just
expect
it every single week, and you get it every single week. He reminds me, he probably doesn't have as higher upside, but he's a bit like Olakuatu. You get used to the amount of work he does, and you just expect it, and then you get used to it. Mate, I thought the one that was a standout for me, Shaq Mitchell.
So good again. One of the best players on the field, 2 games in a row now.
Oh, incredible.
We sat there last week, didn't we? And we saw that with Totola gone, Jai Arrow gone, we needed, or the Bunnies, I should say, needed someone to step up and fill the void of these blokes. Because going to Penrith off a loss, Penrith being off a loss, that is, it could have gotten ugly pretty quickly. For Shaq to step up and play 51 minutes, he ran for 155 metres. He was the bloke who did it for him last week. It was outstanding. So the Bunnies they've got a few middles coming back in the next few weeks. Geez, they'll take this. They'll remember this game for a long way into the season.
Yeah, they're looking good, bunnies. They really are. Like, I'm excited for them.
And obviously, Shaq Mitchell was fantastic. I think the other one to mention is Davey Mwali. He only played 25 minutes. I've been told that if everyone was fit this week, he wouldn't have played. So for a young guy playing hurt like that, going out to Penrith to start against Fish and these sort of guys, credit to him. I think it was pretty evident that he wasn't at 100%. But I guess that's, and obviously you can talk more about it, but I think that's part of your progression of being a first grader. You play hurt. All the time.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
I think it's something that a lot of fans sleep on sometimes.
Yeah, it's part of learning too. Like, when you're younger, you're almost like, I'm not 100%, I'm not playing.
Yeah.
Because, like, I want to go out there and play my best. But you've got to learn that when you play NRL, you will never be 100%. If you're 100% in an NRL side, you are not having a dig.
Yeah.
Like, it's just impossible. You can't get through the training. Every single player you see run out in that field has an injury that they're carrying. And so as you get older, and the older boys tell you this, they're like, guys, you will always be carrying an injury. So you need to accept that is a part of rugby league. So Miley, that's great that they've got a young big forward that has that mental toughness at such a young age. So great things for the Rabbitohs, as in on the footy field. Great things for the Rabbitohs.
I thought it was interesting, obviously, chasing points for a long time in this game, and they used Blake Taaffe for 7 minutes. I thought he might have got on a little bit early when they were chasing, and I mean, I as I said before, I think JD's done so many things right, but I thought that was an interesting use of his interchange there.
Where would you put him, like, when you get him on there?
100%, but I had that question before the game. I wouldn't have Blake Taaffe on my bench personally. I'd go in a different direction, especially when you're missing that many middles. But in a game where you were chasing points, I guess Matty might be the best person to ask, but I just expected him to get on earlier than that.
What do you reckon, Matty? Should have Taaffe been on earlier, or?
It's a good question. I didn't actually really think about that. You're right though. Like, where would you put him? I don't like. It's not like South are
I think
starved of attacking weapons.
I think he gets put on the bench as cover. More as cover. Like, if one of the halves goes down, if Trell goes down, if the hooker goes, you know what I mean?
Like, I'm backing. Like, I love Taff, but I'm backing Latrell, Cody, and Cookie to, like, the points to come from there.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
But it is interesting. Is like, do you waste a bench spot? On a guy that may not play any minutes?
That's obviously very nitpicky too.
Yeah.
And going back to it, we've mentioned him a few times, a bit of an unsung hero for that team. It's Saliva Havili, isn't it? Who's your middle forward, who can cover halves, who can cover hooker. You know, can give Cookie a spell at 9 if he needs a break. So invaluable to that bench.
Oh, mate, when he got injured, I literally went, oh, that sucks for South. That's going to hurt them. Whereas when they signed him a year ago, I sort of went, okay.
Yeah.
He'll be good in Reggie's.
Yeah.
But he's literally become a really important part of that footy side.
And how stoked would you be if you're Havili, like, not to have a crack at the Raiders, but you've gone from a side that, you know, just scraped into the 8 to you could win a comp in the next year or two as off the bench. Like, it's a fucking good win. Now, on to Sharkies versus the Eels. Mitchell Moses, 2 tries. This was an interesting one because, the Eels versus Sharkies. I mean, they're all interesting ones. It's such a good weekend of footy, but the Eels, first of all, both teams, to leak that many points, very concerning. They're supposed to be the tippity top of the NRL. Both leaked a bunch of points. Both had opportunities to ice the game, and then the other team kind of came back into it. Good win for the Sharkies because obviously they're without Nico Hines. So, like, to beat the Eels at home without Nico Hines, you have to give that credit. The Eels, on the other hand, man, look, it's a long season, and we've seen this from the Eels plenty of times where they play poorly and they bounce back or whatever, but they've always been strong starters to the year, and this is the first season where they've started quite slowly. So, look, is this the way that they go all the way and they win the comp? I'm not sure, but, man, the Eels were disappointing.
Yeah, they were, and just on the Sharkies, you said both teams conceded points. I mean, you have a look at the Sharkies' last 4 games. This was actually their best defensive game in their last 4, when you include the back end of last season. Conceded 26, 27 the week before. In both those finals games to finish the season, conceded more than 30 points. So, very un-Craig Fitzgibbon from what we've come to know of Craig Fitzgibbon. Parramatta, mate, I agree with you. They're now 0-2. As I said last week, their next 3 games against 3 teams coming off buys, and it's something I'm very interested to watch throughout this year, the record of teams off buys. The Dragons obviously got their first win. I think in this competition, when you've got 2 weeks to prepare and get everyone fresh, you should be winning after just about every bye. So I hope I'm not being over the top, but if Parramatta are 0-5 in 5 weeks' time, I won't be surprised.
Oh, man. Like they got the toughest opening draw.
It's brutal.
And they're not in form right now. I mean, it's like they are in form, but they're not. You know what I mean? They have these patches where you go, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And then you go, then they've lost the game. I will say, I hate to single people out, but some of their outside backs, like Wonga Blake, 3 errors, Bailey Simonson, 3 errors. Like, that's 6 errors between your winger and your, like, that kills you. Like, you could make the argument if they just made 1 error each, Eels win the game.
Yeah, and I know we had this conversation last week and nothing's changed, but the bench rotation, Makatoa didn't get on the field again. Murchie played 35, Momasia 23. Makatoa only played 13 minutes. What's like you've got a long season ahead of you. Well, no,
Wiramu Greg didn't get on.
He didn't get on the field. Sorry, yeah, Greg, yeah. But I mean, it makes me wonder what minutes is Madison going to play when he returns off the bench.
It's bizarre. I don't understand. Like, are they trying something new? But it's like, bro, you got to a grand final. Like, it wasn't. You don't need to try anything new. You just do what you did last year. You were incredible.
And they can't keep doing this all year. They cannot keep playing their middles for these sort of minutes. It's what, like, for all they know, both of these middles could get picked in Origin mid-year.
But, like, does anyone think that Paulo and RCG need more minutes? They need less minutes, if anything. They need to be less reliant on them.
You know what's bizarre, too? They've got Cartwright and Dory. Cartwright played 80, Dory played 72. Like, you're getting 4 minutes out of your edges. Rotate your middle.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Timmy, what do you reckon?
Yeah, just, I suppose, touching on the defence, like, the attacking footy from both sides was outstanding. And like, you got missed tackles was 32 by Para, 24 by Cronulla. Not good stat, but not highly alarming. Like, we see missed tackles in games go up 45, 50 plus at times.
Well, last week's Sharks were 50 plus.
There you go. So, but what that says to me is that their structures and their shapes are really off. Their combinations are off in that there were so many poor reads in defence that they weren't necessarily just blokes missing an easy tackle to let a try through. There were so many just clean line breaks where blokes would be shooting off out of the line or people would be staying back. The defensive unit was really poor from both sides. So pretty concerning for both of them. Attack, absolutely humming.
Yeah.
But defensively, geez, really that sort of, don't they?
Yeah, they're defensively just... So, again, like last year when the Eels are playing poorly, I was like, they've got such a good squad. When it clicks, it'll click for them. And their attack is good. They just got to sort out their defence. Well, I mean, the attack was good this game. Last game, it was good for half a game, and then it just went to fucking shit.
And we talk about, like, defensive structures. Parramatta at least have got the excuse of, there are a few new faces in the team. They've got a new 9. They've got 2 new edges in there at the moment, so they probably are adjusting a little bit. The big one is the edge player and the half as well. Like, that's where even I think Brown shot out of line once or twice there, and they got cut through there. They can work on that. Outside of Nico Hines, that Sharkies side hasn't really changed. So I'm really surprised that they're battling defensively.
Yeah, and as you said, even if you bring Hines in, it doesn't change anything defensively, which is what they were built off for the vast majority of last year. I thought that they would have come into the start of this season with a big emphasis on their defence. I thought that the finals would have left a real sour taste.
I know people aren't going to like this because I like the Broncos, but if there's one team that's come in this year with a defensive mindset, it's the Brizzy Broncos. They kept the Panthers to 10 points or 12 points or whatever, and they kept the Cowboys to 16 points, which I think is the best in the comp. Maybe Dolphins is better. Anyway, but what I'm saying is there's no one, like when you look at the Broncos side, you don't think defence. When you look at the Sharks, you look at the Eels, you think defence. So it definitely needs to improve. Jaman Hopgood, another absolute cracker of a game. The great Guarino, I think you might have done it again, mate.
I think I might have here too, just quietly. But he's, mate, I'll claim it, but he's better than I thought he was too. I mean, he is a freak. The thing that I loved in this game, what do you have? 2 try assists, 2 or 3 line break assists. He did it all. You watch the last 5 minutes of that game, and there's a moment there where Gutho makes a break. They're down by 4, and you can see he's trying to find someone to hit, and he floats to the middle of the field, and Hopgood is flying, and he tries to get the pass to him, and he's not able to. Good defence by Cronulla. If he would have got that ball, he would have scored the match-winning try there. And then Cronulla get the ball. They make a break up the sideline. Not only does he Scott Sattler to make the tackle, takes him out, he stands up and sprints to where the scrum is to make sure he's the first one to pack it. If you get a chance, go and watch the last 5 minutes and just watch him. He almost won the game 3 times off his own back after making 45 tackles and laying on half their points. Mate, I reckon Billy Slater would be sitting there going, I don't know how I get him in, but I've got to get him in.
Yeah, he is absolutely outstanding. And I mean, going 2 for 2, Guru, that's pretty good.
Happy with it.
Cotter into Hopgood. Far out. They don't call you the Guru for nothing, bro. Don't call you the Guru for
But
nothing.
you look at not dwelling on. Oh, I absolutely am dwelling on those minutes and the bench rotation again because I'm so perplexed by it. Like you've got Hopgood playing 71 minutes. I think he played 80 the week before.
84.
84 the week before. So Campbell Gillard 65, Barlow 57. The Edge is playing huge minutes. They're all playing monster games.
It's bizarre.
What is going on?
It's bizarre. I just... Do those players really need more minutes? They are veterans. They need less minutes, and then you build them into the season. There must be a reason. There must be a reason internally that they're trying to maybe go hard early and then back them off maybe.
And I mean, like, they played until the grand final last year. So did Hopgood. He played cup until the grand final.
Well, they played the World Cup as well.
Played a World Cup as well. It's just... I don't know. There's obviously reason for why
There must
he's
be a
doing
reason.
it.
I would love to know.
I would love for him just to come out, even for the sake of Parramatta fans.
Yeah.
Come and tell us what you're playing. Like, it's not going to change anything about how teams come up against you.
Yeah.
We know you're doing it. Just explain why, I think.
Yeah, it would be really good for Para fans to go, the reason why I'm playing these guys in such long minutes is 4X. And a lot of Para fans can at least go, well, okay, I don't agree or I do agree. At least I know.
And if I'm a Parramatta fan, I'm sitting there going, like, we carried a utility all last year and we didn't need one. You constantly found a way to get them in there. Now you're not using jersey 17 and you're not playing a utility. What if someone does get injured?
Yeah, it's very strange.
I love with Hopgood as well. They're such calculated offloads. It's obviously going to be such an integral part of his game, but he's not going to the line and flicking it out the back willy-nilly. Like, he's in complete control every time he throws it. If there's a small chance that it's not on, he keeps it under the wing and holds onto it, it's a big thing.
Yeah, I think he's the best offloader in the game.
Yeah, I mean, Maddo's pretty good. I want to see more of him, but right now you'd say for the first
From what
round.
I've seen in reserve grade,
Yeah,
he's,
fair.
as you said, they're calculated. He never offloads at the wrong time.
Yeah, fair.
There'll be blokes who'll offload more, but
Yes.
they're not as effective.
Yeah.
There'll be turnovers.
Matty?
Just winding back to before, so Penrith have the best, I'm not counting the two bye teams, Penrith have the best defence at the moment with 23, then Brizzy 28. Brizzy Broncos.
Penrith do.
Yeah, they've only conceded 13 when they lost.
Yeah.
And then they won, so.
Okay, so what was it again?
So Penrith have conceded 23, Brisbane have conceded 28.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at that, it like slaps you in the face, like the Penrith situation. You go, fuck, that's impressive.
Yeah, mate, and like we said this last week, everyone's panic stations about them. They lost 2 games by 1 point.
That is so
They played
impressive.
awfully. Yeah.
That is so impressive. And that's where you're like, that's why, Ivan Cleary and that aren't panicking because they're like, we're still the best defensive comp in the comp. What wins
issues.
comps? Defense.
No, I just imagine they were sitting there last week watching all the headlines about Luai and Salmon just laughing and everyone panicking about them going, we're not conceding points.
Mate, if anything, I think the Luai Salmon helped them.
I think it definitely helped.
Because it just misdirected any stress on anyone else. And the boys, they know they're sweet. They're like, okay, sweet.
And that's right. I reckon they'd be sitting there going, does anyone outside of this room realise the best defensive team wins every fucking year?
Yeah, it's, fuck, that's a good stat for the year. Like, I know it's 2 games, but we should put a disclaimer at the start of every episode. We know it's been 2 games.
Yeah.
And then round 3, we know it's been 3 games.
But on top of that, and yes, it has been 2-3 games, whatever, we wrapped the Cowboys deluxe last year for their defence. Brisbane went through them on the weekend.
It's because we've got a young hot boy at the back, mate. When you're that hot, you're that horny, you do whatever you want. Okay, now on to so Eels. It's not like panic stations at all, but it is concerning. Like you can't hide behind. Like if they had an easier draw, I could be like, look, this could turn into a disaster. If you go 0-5, it's a grand finalist. I don't think they will go 0-5. I don't think they will because their team is too good. But we could be in the beginnings of like, oh my God.
And I know Kempy a few people up just when we're sort of looking at the draw and referring to sides having better and worse draws and whatnot. And they're saying, if they start hard early, well then, it balances out across the course of the season. It does. But what we were sort of alluding to is that a side like the Bunnies or Parramatta who do have these really difficult starts to the season, if they do start 0-5 or 1-5, whatever, they're just chasing their tails the entire season. So you don't want that big chunk of tough games early on.
Yeah.
If you can get away with it and be 3 from 5 or something, sweet, happy days, and then you get easy games, but it doesn't always work that way. And Parramatta, they're staying at a tough month ahead still.
Well, who's been the most dominant side of the last 20 years? Melbourne Storm. What is their number one message every year? Start fast. Cam Smith always said, we always started fast because you get the points in the bank and then you can just focus on playing rugby league. The last thing you want to be doing is chasing points at the end of the year, doing big pressure plays. Like, look at the Roosters, for example. If they started well last year, they would have been in the top 4. They're probably in a grand final.
And that's where with Parramatta, I worry that if they are 0-5, we get to Origin time, 2 front rowers are gone, Hopgood might be gone, everyone else has played 25 minutes off the pine. All of a sudden you have to play 60 minutes.
Yeah.
And you can't afford to, if you start slow, around that Origin time, you can't afford to rest them the week after. You can't afford to rest them in round 25 if you're chasing top 4 spot.
Look what the Panthers have been able to do last few years. They tell their Origin players don't come into training for a week because they can afford to, they don't drop games. But anyway, yeah, so I agree, mate, I agree. Sharkies, real mixed bag. I love the 25 missed tackles or whatever stat. That's really, it's not like incredible, but it's good. Like if you were going to give that a grade, you'd probably give it an A- because like that's not that many missed tackles. A-, B+. So when I look at their attack with Tricky Trindle in there, I'm going, this is great. Will Kennedy, most underrated fullback in the game, bar none. So good. But again, it's that large amount of 26 points. Eels were out to, was it a 10-0 lead in the first whatever minutes, and they crawled it back. So it feels harsh to be negative. So I'm just going to identify the fact that their defence needs work, but it's one of those games where I think you just get the win. You just get into the fucking stadium, you get the 2 points, you get the fuck out. You don't focus on it, and you just go forward, and then you build confidence. You know what I mean? Like it could have very easily been they are going into round 3 0-2. Such a different conversation, man. Such a different conversation.
And if you're looking for glass half full, I don't think there's many sides that go to Combank and are down 10-0 after 5 minutes and then win the next 70 minutes 30-16. So like there are positives there, but I think it's incredible with the Sharkies too that there's not many sides that you could take the Dalian winning halfback out of their side and they score 30 points against last year's grand finalists too. So there are positives to take out of there, but you don't want to be conceding 26, regardless of who you're coming up against.
Timmy?
Yeah. Campy, I just love your mentality. Don't overthink it. Just rock up, get the 2, just go home, put the feet up and relax.
Don't
just
think about
relax.
it. Yeah, mate. Because if you start wigging out too early in the season, everyone gets tired by the end of it. They're going, oh my God, like every time we play, it's panic stations. So you just get in there, get the job done, and get it
done,
out.
and
Just
go
get it
home.
done.
Around Will Kennedy, like he just gets more and more impressive every single week. Now he's not there yet, but if we're looking at like fullback ranking tiers, and you have your Clear, Latrell, Teddy, Pappy, etc. at the top of it, Tommy Turbo, then the level below it, I think you probably have like Gutho and Dill Edwards. He's getting bloody close to that level. Especially off the back of the Sharky success. He started this season on fire. Do you reckon that's fair to say that he's not far off him, or do you think a lot more to do? He's killing it.
I think as a silky ball player, he's up there with the best. I really do. Like, does he have the physicality of Tom Trbojevic and Latrell Mitchell? No, probably not.
I'm saying Gutho and Edwards.
Oh, he's up there with Gutho and Edwards? Yeah. See, I would sneak Edwards into that top tier now.
Yeah.
I'd sneak him into that top tier. Now, is he as good as he? No, but I'd sneak him in top tier. Oh, that's an interesting one.
3 tries, 3 line breaks, 180 metres, 4 tackle busts.
I tell you what.
I know it's only one game, but
I tell you what, he's on his way.
He's on his way.
Yeah, for sure. He's on his way to sneaking into that second tier of fullback for sure.
I would, if I was to have him in the second tier, I would have him at the bottom of the second tier. But he's not far off. I think it's just the consistency that we constantly get from Gutho and Dill Edwards that elevates them.
So would you wouldn't have Dill Edwards in top tier yet?
I'd have him the bottom of the top tier or the top of the second. I'd have him in between there. But I mean, when you take him out of his team that's so good, it's hard to argue that he shouldn't be top.
I've got him top of the second tier just because Teddy, Latrell, Turbo are so, like, they're the absolute elite of our game. It is the strongest position in the NRL across the board at the moment.
I would have him bottom of the top tier, I think. And a lot of people try to say, I've seen comments saying, oh, you put him in a bad team, he wouldn't be as good. I disagree. I think he's actually one of the players that would consistently be delivering 200 metres, 10 tackle breaks. I would progress Dylan Edwards into the bottom of the top tier.
I mean, Clive Churchill medalist.
I know. That's what it's a lot. Yeah. He's a back-to-back winning premiership fullback. He played one of the grand finals with a broken foot, won a Clive. comes back and he's on 6 Dally M points. You know? So, and also, was it this last season that just went? We were talking about Smokey for Dally M fullback. Who won Dally M fullback last year? Edwards. Did he?
Was it?
Or was it Teddy?
It would have been Teddy because Teddy came second in the Dally M overall. Must have been Teddy.
Oh, must have been Teddy then.
Yeah.
I wonder where Edwards came then.
Well, I think he wasn't Drinky 4 and he was 5 or 6. I thought he got pretty close to it.
So Teddy would have won fullback because he got 33 points.
Yeah.
But then Drinkwater and Edwards got the same amount of points on 23.
23. What, did Teddy get 33 and they got 23?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big gap.
Big gap.
Outrageous.
Okay, so he basically equal second fullback Dally M points.
Yeah, that is correct.
The argument that echoes through eternity.
Oh, man. Never going to let it go. Anyway, back to the great Will Kennedy. Yeah, look, I love what I'm seeing. He's only going to get better. He's in his, second or third year of first grade, abouts. I love what I'm seeing. Outside of that, Nikora, he was... What I love is, I feel like for at least 2 years now with Nikora, I'd been saying, and for people listening, they're going, why are you saying Nikora instead of Nikora? We've been told that it is Nikora because in the Māori language, the R's are rolled, not Nikora. But happy to change it back if he wants us to change it back. But yeah, I feel like for the last 2 years, I've been saying, this kid's, he's special. He's going to come into his own. He's going to come into his own. And he's been really solid. He has always done his job, always played well, but he hasn't taken that next step of a wide running forward. I think this year, at least for the first 2 games, he's taken that step because he was outstanding on the weekend.
Yeah, well, you go back to 2021 when he was lining up outside Sean Johnson. He scored 14 tries that season and just blew it away. It was crazy. And then, as per with guys playing first grade, they tend to have that big peak and then they level out for a little bit till they find their consistent spot. I'm starting to think that he has this year. I think he runs one of the hardest lines in rugby league.
There are a few things in the game that get the juices flowing more than seeing him hit a hard line and come through.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful to watch, isn't it?
And you can see the defence. They're literally just going, oh, fuck, please don't give it to him. Please don't give it to him. Please. Because quite often when he scores, he goes untouched.
He's the wide running forward you hate to defend because he consistently runs that line.
Yep.
So you're consistently going, oh my God, this game I'm constantly going to be, every tackle is going to be a big deal, Whereas sometimes you defend on the edges and you're there's some tackles, you just make your tackle, you get through it. It's almost business as usual. Whereas every run from Nikora, he's ripping inside shoulders off. And I just think that this year he finally... And I know people have been listening to the podcast for a while. I think he'll finally become that wide running forward that week. Because he's run similar lines to Boyd Cordner.
Yep.
And for how long did Boyd Cordner rip people's shoulders off?
Exactly right.
And the flow on effect is sure he has the highlight reel moments and these good try scoring stats, but we always speak out when there is a back rower who runs that hard line, just as the decoy, holding up defenders, the amount of space he's creating for his outside backs, and with Nico inside him, Nico sweeping, it's so invaluable, and you don't really see it unless you really, really watch your footy as deep as sort of we do and a few others out there do. Oh, it's such a big impact.
Yeah, well, think about this. Sharky 7 wins the Dally M. Matty Moreland has the most try involvements. Who's their edge back rower for the whole year last year? I know they could have gone other sides, but Nikora.
And the last time we sat there and went, Sean Johnson had a great year. Who was his back row?
Yeah. So I'm really excited to see where Nikora goes.
I think defensively, as much as he hasn't scored as many tries last 2 years, I think he's been sensational too.
Oh, defensively. I think he's always been really good defensively. He hits, but it's like a stinging hit. It's whenever you see in highlights, and I'm sure most people that have played rugby league know this, those big hits where you see people go flying, they don't hurt. Yeah. They don't hurt. They seriously do not hurt unless you're getting whiplashed and knocked out. It's the ones you don't see that fucking sting, and your body, and because if you go flying, it means your body hasn't taken the impact. You've been forced backwards. If you don't go flying, it means your body takes the full fucking impact, and he does those kind of hits that sting you.
And it's a bit of a weird correlation, but I had him in my Supercoach team last year, so I watched him really closely, and you could see his Supercoach stats, which you get from tackles, runs in his situation, they would go sky high whenever it was in the wet. Whenever it was tough and tight, he would bring his shovel and go to work.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So I love about him.
That's interesting.
Which, when you watch him in 2021, you go, oh, he's a highlight back rower.
Yeah, yeah.
But he's not. He's the opposite.
Yeah, it's so true. So true. Okay, anyone else for the Sharkies, boys, that stands out to you?
All good, mate, from me.
Yeah, I think that covers it. Yeah.
Just looking out. 3 tries for Will Kennedy. Far out. In a game that they needed points and he gets the win.
So just on the Sharkies, that intercept that Mulatalo took, that was a huge play in that game. That was massive.
He's got Mulatalo has quite a few big plays now for the
Always.
Sharkies. It's he's a fan favourite. He really is like electrifying. Although he was on a treadmill in which Moses was chasing him. Oi, Mulatalo, get on your bike, son.
You called that early just quietly at the pub.
Yeah, because I know
he knows quick. You know, he moves.
Mitchell Moses would probably be one of the quickest in the comp, I reckon. He is fast, man. You just don't see it very often.
Yeah.
And I don't trust those bloody trackers that much.
I don't trust them at all.
They are. I don't know. The eye test doesn't go for me.
I'll tell you just before we move off this game, we're obviously doing the live show whilst this one was on. There was a try scored every 3 minutes. It was torture trying to keep an eye, watch it, and it was
you know what's crazy?
Great game.
So 64 minutes, Dale Finucane, 176 metres, 66 post contact, 43 tackles, only 1 miss. I'm not even talking about him. They said he was, and think about it, they said he was done. And I hate to bring it up, West Tigers didn't even try to get him. They went after Tavita Pangai Jr.
Your time will come, the Tigers. Yeah.
Like, Jesus, you didn't want this bloke that's still putting up those numbers with all that experience. Also, in the Stan documentary, you know, it's like, you know, people think we're talking nonsense when we go, you sign these experienced guys, it doesn't even matter if they barely play. Like, guess what Wayne Bennett said? Because they were like, because the recruitment people to Wayne Bennett, I'm bloody spoiling the whole thing, but trust, it's episode each week, guys, so this is only out of 1 episode. So they go to Wayne, you know, if we sign him on 2 to 3 years, he's going to be 35 or whatever by his 3rd year. And Wayne goes, so what? And they were like, well, what do you mean? He's like, we'll put him on for 20 minutes. And by that 3rd year, the young forwards that have learned under him can go out and do the big job. And it's just like, that's why he's the GOAT, is that he understands, just like Craig Fitzgibbon understood, that in his 3rd year, yeah, he's not expecting Finucane to play 70 minutes, but he'll get 20 minutes out of him to do the job, and he'll teach the young guys what to do.
And off the back of that, I might be heading down the exact opposite path. I think it's a question we need to ask. Wade Graham, out on the bench on the weekend, they had McInnes, Royce Hunt, Oregon Kafusi, they had Connor Tracy as well. He's club captain. Do you think there's always going to be a spot for Wade in this side this year?
I think that when you've got enough experience in the team, you can afford to go, sorry, Wade, you know. But I do think that give him a chance to lose the spot, though.
Yeah, fair.
And make it so that if you want to take the club captain and Wade Graham's spot, you better earn it. Don't just be like, it comes back, plays 1 poor game, all right, see you later. I think that because you've got to worry about club culture long term too. And the way you treat guys that have earned the right to get a few chances. And I think Craig Fitzgibbon will. I think there's a world where Connor Tracy probably falls off that bench. Wade Graham goes on that bench as a utility.
Which it is interesting if you take out all that context of who Wade Graham is, if you're just picking your side, who you want there, and it's a bit of a utility. Like realistically, when they put Wade Graham on in the middle, I don't think compared to Cam McInnes, he adds that much in the middle to them. Whereas a Connor Tracy, he can play every position on the field essentially. So it probably does make more sense to carry him. I just think it'll be an interesting one to watch. Because
he does obviously cover the halves. It puts the Sharkies in a unique position of carrying a 4-forward bench, which not many clubs can do because most clubs need an outside back on their bench to cover it, out to back, and in particular a half back. Because if a half goes down, you're shot. But Wade Graham being able to effectively cover 5'8", and we've spoken about it before, but they've got Nakora who can shoot out to the back line as well if they need to. Yeah. I got it right the first time as well.
Yeah, I know. I'll stuff it up too, mate.
Yeah, Nikora, who can shoot out and play centre for them. Cam McInnes, who can play number 9 for them. The versatility across their squad is amazing.
It's seriously, as we've discussed, one of the most balanced squads in the comp.
And if something happened to Matt Moylan this weekend and you had to play Wade at 5'8" for the rest of the year, I'd be like, they'll be okay. He's that good.
do you think? I know he just re-signed Trindle, but and I hate to say it, but is Matty Moylan's writing on the wall like pretty much in stone now because Trindle has come in and played so well? I'm assuming there's no way Trindle re-signed unless he was promised, once Matty Moylan is done, you will be in the next year or two. Like, why would a guy like Trindle that's played this good and we know he's this good sign a 3 or 4 year deal? How long was the deal he signed, Matty? A 3-year deal to sit in reserve grade for 3 years.
He's only 23, Braden Trindle.
I know, he's young.
Jesus.
How long is Moises signed for?
I think it's 1 year.
Okay.
I reckon this might be Moises last year.
2024 was that?
So he's got a 2 year.
He's contracted until the end of 2024, according to NRL.com. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting because surely Trindle's not sitting in reserve grade till 2024. There's no way.
We're even talking at the live show, like a number of clubs out there that need a 7. Surely you should be looking at him.
That's what I'm alluding to.
Yeah.
They're going to have to make a hard call. Matty Moylan has been incredible, and he continues to be really good. But what decision do you make? Do you piss off Trindle? Look, there's no world where Trindle should be playing reserve grade in 2024. That's craziness. And also, the desperation some clubs need for a 7, there's no way his contract is more than $400K right now.
Or does Craig just look at it and go, well, whichever one of you earns a jersey, you're going to play well to fucking hold on to it because the other one's waiting there.
Yeah. I'd love to know how much Moyes is on. Did he take massive unders to stay for those 2 years? And he's actually the one on the lower tier contract?
I reckon he would be.
Yeah.
I personally reckon he would be.
And so they can afford to sit him in reserve grade if they have to.
I think so, yeah.
But the problem is like even if Moyes is playing a little bit better, do you risk pissing off Trindle,
I mean, and I thought their most impressive player in the trials was the other young halfback, Peru. So they're stacked.
They are stacked. I mean, these are the problems you talk about when you're talking about top tier clubs.
That's what you want. Yep.
They've literally got, so again, really interesting conversation. I'm not saying that Moyes has definitely done it, rah-rah, but it is about balancing and keeping. Like anyone that watched Braden Trindle play the last 2 weeks knows now he's not a reserve grader. He should not be playing reserve grade. But, does he get the 14 role? Well, where do you put him on the bench then? Fuck.
Yeah.
Hunt, Kofusi, Graham comes back, Cam McInnes.
And I mean, even last year, they had a young bloke named Ryan Rivet. I'm pretty sure that was his name, and he looked very good in the juniors. They let him go to Newcastle, so they're obviously confident in what they've got there.
Tricky Trindle played fantastic. Brayley got through a bunch of work, but yeah, look, Sharkies. As I said at the start, yes, the defense is concerning, but sometimes you just need to get in, get the 2 points, and get the fuck out of there. Seriously, like I can't express how much enough because like another reason why you don't want to start slow is some clubs crumble confidence from that, and so the first 10 weeks they play poorly, and no matter what you do after that, their confidence is so shot that they just can't come back from it. Whereas if you start really strongly, you can always fall back on, boys, we've beaten the best of the best, so we can do it.
Yeah.
I think the Sharkies and the Eels will be fine. I really do. But they do need to, if they want to be considered a top tier club, they need to constantly be a top tier club.
I think Parramatta need to win at least one of the next 3 weeks against those top tier clubs.
My God.
And I mean, Matto's not back this week. I think he'll return for the Panthers game. So that'll be huge. Grand final replay.
I love Matto, but one of the all-time bed shits.
It's one of the great bed shits.
All-time bed shits.
Fuck.
He's a good guy. I'm telling you, people, I've hung out with him in that. Although his decision was silly, he's a good bloke. Like, he is a good bloke.
And it's wild too because Hopgood comes in his jersey and you go and he would never take 3 games off.
No way. I mean, look, most players wouldn't. I think it was a perfect storm for him where I think the players were having a big issue with getting fined and they were basically going, no other workplace gets fined, so why am I getting fined $4,000? So I think that was a big argument from RLPA because you have to remember the deal hadn't been signed going forward, and so he may have just got caught up in that, making a stand, because he is quite a strong moral, he stands strongly on what he believes is correct.
Yep.
But I think it's this case you've just got to bite the bullet and do what's best for the team.
Yeah, and I have no doubt whatsoever that Ryan Madison will regret this for a long time.
Yeah, silly decision. But yeah, anyway, that is Sharkies versus Eels. Before we get to the Broncos, though, we've got some shout-outs. First of all, shout-out to No Limit Boxing and Tim Zhu getting the win yesterday against Harrison. What an incredible performance by Tim Tszyu. He did not have to take that fight. We're talking about Harrison, a guy with plenty of experience that has beaten Charlo. Charlo is like the big bad boogeyman of the division, and Tim Tszyu took him to task and looked so much more impressive. So Tim Tszyu went over to America and he fought an older guy that's good but a bit older. And I don't know, maybe he was feeling sick or something because his performance was nowhere near as sharp as it was in this performance. He looked like a killer. So massive congratulations to Tim Tszyu and No Limit. No Limit, the best boxing company in Australia, guys. Make sure to follow them on Instagram at No Limit. They're the ones, all the good cars that you see, it's No Limit. Also, shout outs, celebrations in Kenthurst, selling both Bloke Lager and Bloke Midi for great prices. Get in and see Rachel and grab some Bloke beer. Celebrations Gladesville or Gladesville? Gladesville. Selling Bloke Lager 6-pack for $19.99. Get in and support Damien and Royce and grab some Bloke beer. All these are independent bottlers, guys. So Ausley battlers with bottlers. So make sure to support your local independent bottle shop. Oxley Vale Bottle in Tamworth. Lincoln's the name of my best friend from school. You know what? I learned a really good lesson from that with my friendship with Lincoln. So one time, and it taught me never to talk shit about my mates ever again. So one time, we were just talking about like sport or whatever, and like who was fast. We're talking about school here. Who was fast? Who was this? And basically, it came up to the point, and I go, Lincoln's not that fast. He's lanky. And it got back to him, and he was filthy. I was fucking heartbroken, bro. He didn't speak to me for like a week. I was devastated. And then from that moment, I was like, I'm never, ever talking shit about my mates again.
What's Lincoln doing with himself now?
I think he's an engineer. Good old Lincoln. Shout out Lincoln, bro.
I can't wait for your autobiography one day, Kempy. It's just going to be a good read.
Oh, man.
It can't be too far away either, surely.
Oh, no, surely not. Look, if you ever see me in a yacht and I've made that much money, I might consider...
Chapter 7, the Lincoln Diary.
Lessons from Lincoln.
Lessons from the great Lincoln. He used to play video games. Well, I used to go around his house because he was like, had money and we didn't have any money, so our computer was shit. And so I used to go around his house and watch him play video games. He'd give me a turn every now and then, but not very often.
Using and abusing, huh?
Well, I was getting used because he was the one playing. I was fucking one watching. And we like used to listen to the Eminem CD together, like because you weren't allowed to when you were younger. Good old Lincoln.
When did you really get into your gaming sort of?
When
phase?
Did I?
Yeah,
very very young. Like,
yeah,
I don't know, 8 or so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, good times. What I loved about gaming and the internet was that like everyone you met was on an equal playing field. Like everyone was, there was no history, there was no bullshit. Everyone was just like who they were. It was you were purely interacting with them as a human being, as in their personality.
I was a little game. Like I've never been a big gamer, but when I grew up, when I did game, it was like all the strategic manager games, like football manager.
That makes sense.
The cricket one as well. Cap was whatever the hell it's called, and you sit there, you don't even play your games, you just simulate the team selections in international cricket captain, and you used to like set how aggressive and defensive you want your batters to be and your field to be, and like I didn't actually want to play, I just wanted to manage these teams.
Mate, no wonder you got into Supercoach.
Yeah, I know, it was a match made in heaven, wasn't it?
Seriously. So shout out Lincoln, bro. You're not lanky, bro. Oxley Vale, Bottle, Tamworth, Lincoln running Bloke Lager for 52 Lincoln, is that... Are you selling my beer for $52 a case? That is a bloody... I'm getting robbed here. And Bloke Midi for $50 a case. Can't beat those prices in the country, so get in and grab some Bloke beer. That's Oxley Vale, Bottle, Tamworth. Northmead Cellars, OGs. And people that know Northmead Cellars know that when you drive past, I think it's a highway, and you see my big head on the signage there, that's Northmead Cellars. Currently have a ton of Bloke Lager and running a promo of 2 cases for $99.99. So if you're unsure where Northmead Cellars is, drive down Old Windsor Road in Sydney, and you will see a big banner with the beak on it, advertising Bloke beer. Hastings Hotel Washope, running a special for Bloke Lager, 52 a case. New manager Luke is stoked to have Bloke beer back in the bottle shop. That's Hastings Hotel Washope. I hope I'm saype that right. Washope.
2 cases for under 100's unheard.
I think it's Warhope.
Warhope?
Yeah.
Warhope. Okay, it's spelled WAUCHOPE. Yeah, I mean that's a great price. $99.99. Jesus. Now, on to Broncos versus Cowboys. We've got Paddy Carrigan, his stencil 2028 here. I don't think there's much to talk about here, like, of course. Like, there's like, the thing with players like Paddy Carrigan is that most good clubs don't lose players like them because he's the player that you get rid of other players to keep.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, like, marquee clubmen don't go anywhere because clubs really move things around to keep them. It's the guys just a step under that you kind of lose. So, great signing, Paddy Carrigan. Broncos versus Cowboys. What an incredible game. To see Suncorp packed out like that, to see young hot boy Reece Walsh step up to the plate and club debut. The Broncos looked absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal.
We did the live show last week on the Friday night when Brisbane played Penrith. And then on the Saturday, I was driving back home and I pulled up at a service station. And I thought I'd just take half an hour to chill out. And I went through a heap of messages and I couldn't believe the amount of people messaged me saying, like, it's going to fall apart when Reece Walsh comes back. They would have lost that with Reece Walsh. And I was just sitting there, I swear, I had about 6 or 7 messages out of a lot that were saying that. And I just thought, have I been watching a different bloke? I mean, how could, if you still can't see his talent, I can't help you.
That is insanity. If you can't see how talented this kid is, no offence, but you don't know rugby league. Now, if you want to say his defence needs sorting, which he was much better on the weekend, fair enough. But if you can't see his talent in attack, what is doing?
Oh, it's wild. And I know that when he was at the Warriors, like his error rate was high, but it's because whenever you were in games, it was because of him.
Because he had to do everything to try and get some points.
Yeah, I can't make any. And I don't know if maybe, he's obviously had a few mishaps off field and whatnot, which, young guys do. It is what it is. But if you're bundling that into him not being a good player, like, I was going to be respectful, but I agree with you. You don't know what you're looking at.
You don't know footy. If you don't think he's a good footy player, in my opinion, you don't know footy. Timmy, do you know footy?
Oh, I've watched a bit from time to time, mate, so I like to think so, although Dolphins fans would probably disagree with that. I mean, we spoke so highly of Reece Walsh in the last, 12 months or back into last year in particular. I think I threw him up as a real smoky Dally M late last year or early this year, just off the back of how much of a talent he is, but being able to seeing what he did at the Warriors, who, with all respect, were pretty ordinary last year, and he was still unbelievable at times. Moving to a potentially top 4 team in the Broncos, capable of on their day, I should say. One game in, and he's absolutely a smoky for it because he was unbelievable. He was like, one-on-one, he just reminded you of the early days of Kalen Ponga, and still now, to be fair, with KP, but when he gets his one-on-one, people could not get near him. Inside, outside, like not even lay a hand on him. He was toying with them. It's
funny, actually, a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago or whatever, first of all, I remember seeing a comment, and it had a few likes as well, like basically saying, Beak talks Reece Walsh up way too much, like basically saying that I don't know shit. And also, I think it was about a year or so ago, I think I asked you, Guru, and it was just me and you, maybe 2 years ago, year and a half, and I said, who would you re-sign? Who would you rather re-sign? Ponga, Walsh, or Campbell? And we were umming and ahhing, and a lot of people were like, are you crazy? Like, we're talking about Kalen Ponga here. Now, Reece Walsh still has a long way to go, but I think, like, there's a world where Reece goes on to have the best career out of all 3 players. Now, he's so far away from that. He hasn't dominated in an origin like Kalen has, but if he keeps on this trajectory and the Broncos continue to be a top-tier side, imagine the superstar he'll be.
For sure.
You know what I mean? A Brizzy Broncos side, top tier, you're hot as anything, you're cute as fuck, and you're horniest bloke in Brisbane. I don't know about the last one. I just made that one up. But like the way he
Don't have
plays,
stats to back that up.
I know some people in
Leave
Brisbane.
it with you.
I know some people in Brisbane. I'll reach out. I'll reach out.
For me the other night, mate, was that if Reece Walsh was connecting with Ezra and Adam Reynolds like that in round 22, it would make sense. That's game number 1.
I know.
They look like they've been playing together forever.
And they look like they actually, I know this sounds stupid because it's a footy team, but they like actually really like each other.
It looks that way.
You know what I mean? Like they're actually genuinely mates off the field, which most players are mates, but there's mates, like there's footy mates, and then there's guys that you genuinely would hang out with outside of rugby league, even if you weren't playing footy together.
Yeah.
He was absolutely incredible. His speed, that first few metres where a defence, we're talking about good defenders too, not just like that first few metres where defences go. I had AJ Brimson on the podcast a few weeks ago now, And he said when he got into first grade, I think whether his debut was against the Storm maybe, or he played Storm in his first few games. So Brimo had grown up being the fast guy. So he'd always known, I give guys the outside, they never beat me. He said he played the Storm. He said it was the first time in his life where they'd run a play that they'd watched on video all week long, the Melbourne Storm did. Billy Slater either out the back or on the inside. And he said he in his mind, he remembers thinking, oh yeah, I've got Billy here. And before he knew it, Billy was like on the other side of him, and he only just legs tackled him. And now that's the kind of speed Reece Walsh works with, where he's fast among fast people over that first 10 metres. So most defenders, you could watch on the weekend, like Peter Hickey, he would sit there and go, oh yeah, I've got this kid. Yeah. And then he would just hit the afterburners and force Kyle Feldt to jam in. Just amazing.
And it's a credit to the Broncos for putting him in those positions. As you said, it's his first game back at the club. Unfortunately, we'll get to him later. We're not going to see probably Kalen Ponga for a few weeks, but the Knights, I know he's moved to 5'8" for the time being, but the Knights should be looking at that blueprint. And I know it's only one game sample size, but of how they got Reece Walsh into the game and put him in these positions to get one-on-one ones with people, and he'd score them every time, because they need to be doing the same with Kalen Ponga. And the other thing about Reece Walsh is he's got all the attributes to be a superstar. There are a lot of fullbacks who are super quick, but their ball playing's okay, or they're super reliable, maybe they don't have that much speed or strength. He's lightning quick. His ball playing is outstanding. Maybe not necessarily the strongest fullback in the game, but the ceiling on him is ridiculous.
But you're right, he's not the strongest fullback in the game, but he makes up for that with how good his footwork is. I remember there was one time where he was jogging back and he going, fuck me, Reece, run fast. And then on a dime, he just went, boom, straight off his footwork. Yep. Kind of like Jaden Campbell to a degree. Boom, straight off his right foot, poked his nose through the line and got a quick play the ball. Yeah. And that's how he gets away with his size. He's actually taller than I thought he would be as well when I met him in real life. I think he's about my height. Yep. And so, I'm obviously not a big outside back, but I'm also not considered a short one either. I would still be considered a small one, but I'm not like Preston Campbell small or whatever. But so he's around, I'd say 5'10", 11, probably 11. Whereas when you watch him on the field, you probably think 8, 9, because he looks quite small.
Yeah,
he's actually not as short as that. Could you get his height up on the thingo? I reckon he'd be around 179, 180, about 5'11", 10. But he was electric. He was so good. Adam Reynolds, incredible. Just what a match by Brizzy. What a game.
I was sitting at the pub the other day with mates. Have you got it, Matty?
177.
Okay. He still seemed a little bit taller. Maybe he had fucking big shoes on. Because he seemed about nearly my height. I'm 180. Were you wearing high heels, Reece, when I met you? Jesus.
I was sitting at the pub on Saturday night with mates talking about this game, and we had an argument. Is Adam Reynolds... I personally think he should be included in the conversation as just the best kickers of a football ever.
He's fucking right up there.
Mate, we were saying, who would you add in? It'd be your Joeys, your Ricky Stewarts, your Cronks, your Thurstons. I think for kicking game alone, Adam Reynolds has to be up there. Long, short, whatever the hell it is. Pretty much all he doesn't have is a crazy bomb like a Burton or a Cooper Cronk. Outside of that, he hits 40-20s for fun. I genuinely think there's an argument he's got the best short kicking game we've ever seen.
Oh, his short kicking game is probably, I'm not sure about ever, but I'm trying to think of one that I've seen that's has. I can't think of anyone that's had the short kicking game that he has.
I think his short kicking game is better than Cronk and Thurston, personally. Obviously, theirs are elite, but I reckon his is right up there with your Joeys, your Brent Sherwins, these sort of guys. He just never gets it wrong. There's a kick that he put in on the weekend that he missed. He missed Selwyn Cobbo by half a yard. And I remember when he did that thing.
And that was Selwyn's fault.
That was Selwyn's fault. Yeah, he was too far.
If Selwyn was where he was supposed to be, it would have landed right. It would have been a pinpoint. So it actually wasn't even a wrong kick.
But I remember watching that and going, oh, jeez, that's poor by Reynolds. But then thinking, that's the first poor kick. That's the first kick he hasn't got exactly right, and it wasn't his fault in a decade. He's a freak.
Yeah, he is a freak. And it's if someone had held the paint, and Matt, look, if someone didn't know, then fair enough. But if someone holds the paint there, it is pinpoint perfect kick. Pinpoint perfect kick. So Adam Reynolds outstanding. Payne Haas, another massive effort. Billy Walters came on and he did some good things. I think he had one situation where I was like, what are you doing there? I think it was like an early kick. But outside of that, Corey Pakes. I mean, the thing is, it seems like their nines are playing good enough to get by. Yep. Like, Reynolds is so dominant and so good that it's enough, and they can just get out and kind of almost be like a service nine and a running nine. Flegler came on, was outstanding. Who else? Like, I mean, what a game. Oh, Herbie Farnworth. Seriously, for a guy that we said is almost just a Mr. Consistent, he's Mr. fucking superstar now.
Remember sitting here last year and we sort of said he might be the best centre at the club? In my opinion, he is the best centre at the club.
Right now, he's the best centre at the club.
And I don't think many people had pushed back on you, despite the huge potential Katoni has. This guy does it week in, week out.
It's incredible. And, like, look what he's managing to do now that he has a side that's playing good footy. Because, like, he was injured for how long last year? So he missed a lot of...
Yeah.
I think he missed a lot of the good run.
Yeah.
And so maybe he was just a victim of a team that's winning the fucking spoon.
And, you know, could he improve his game with a pass? 100% he could.
But he's getting better.
It, though? I don't know. He's getting better, but he's also, like fair. Like, I always sit there and go, he doesn't pass. I know what he's going to do. Doesn't mean you can stop him.
Yeah, he is so good. Like, he set up the match winner from nothing. Nothing was happening.
Yeah.
And basically, I mean, they were already ahead, but it closed the game out. It was over.
And that was an exact moment when you said the other day he's got a bit of Joey Manu. In my head, I sort of went, oh, geez, I don't know about that. That was Joey Manu down to a T.
Yeah.
Just getting to dummy half, create something out of nothing, win the game of football.
Yeah, it's a good point. I still don't think he moves as well as Joey Manu does, but he's not like... That statement is becoming more and more shaky ground with every game I see Herbie.
He's got the ability, like Manu, to just pick the ball up like it's under eights and just do something.
I think ability-wise, they're getting that. They said that bridge is narrowing. Joey is just so incredibly strong, and that's where I don't think anyone will ever match Joey. Yeah. So strong.
So Herbie. Oh, fuck. What a loss he's going to be. Again, a couple of weeks ago, I'm happy for the guy. Going, you've earned it, bro. Take that big contract. Now I'm going, shit.
The two Kempy and the other one, obviously, the two we sing praises of just about every week, and they just back it up. Him and Tommy Flegler. Yeah. So Tommy Flegler, 36 minutes, 153 metres in that time, 6 tackle breaks, 2 offloads, 19 tackles, no misses.
I know, oh, mate.
Like, they are elite stats off the bench.
Elite, like Tommy Flegler, I would love to know what happened in that contract negotiations. Like, do we just have no money? Was he offered... Like, and that's why I think he's worth $700,000. Like, at a Redcliffe. I really do. Like, when you're coming off the bench doing that, and what is he, 23 years old? And what I love about the Broncos games is, like, they're doing it off the back of their defence. You know, their attack is good, for sure. But their defence is just... It's just rock solid. Like, we're talking about a Cowboys side that's attack is humming with a drink water at the back there, and they held them out consistently.
Well, Kempy, we knew the Broncos squad was good enough to be, top 4 worthy. It was the off-field. So now the challenge now is, we know we can do it. We've got the team. Let's stay stable off the field.
For sure.
Don't let anything come in and break this team apart.
Well, what's interesting is, like, they just had an incredible win against the Cowboys. You'd say Staggs and Cobbo had a quiet game. A Broncos team, incredible win, Staggs and Cobbo, the two players with the most potential in the squad, and arguably some of the most potential across the board in the NRL, were quiet. Like, they did their job. They didn't play poorly, but they just did their job.
But at the same time with Selwyn, I was just looking at his stats. Ran for 100 metres, fine, 0 errors. That's what I want to say.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'm just stoked that, he doesn't have to be the superstar every single week, but if he consistently be just stay the same every single week, that'll be unreal.
Yep. When you look at their stats as well, they only missed 25 tackles compared to the Cowboys' 42. Like, the Cowboys were built on their defence as well last year. So, yeah, what an incredible performance. Ezra Mam snapped a front rower. That's amazing.
183 run metres for Ezra.
183 run metres. He is...
Tell you who else is the real unsung little hero in this team, and he never gets spoken about, but I just think you need these guys in your team. Corey Jensen.
Oh, yeah,
just does a job every single week. You know exactly what you're going to get. It's going to be a 7.5 out of 10 every week, but you know it, and you can bank on it and build around it.
I also want to give, statistically, you're not going to see it. I thought Jordan Ricky had one of his best games in a long time. He was super aggressive, super mature. He had had one error, but I don't recall him actually dropping a ball in contact or whatever. So it might have been one of those weird errors that you get attributed to your name. He had 4 one-on-one tackles. I really like this performance from Ricky. Like, if he keeps playing with that attitude, the stats will come. The big stats will come. He's too good of a player not to. I really like what I saw from him. He did some really good work on the edge there. But yeah, outside of that, what a great win. Now it's about consistency. I mean, Jesse Arthurs, for example, like Corey Oates was playing outstanding, and hopefully swift recovery for Corey Oates. But Jesse Arthurs, I think he's going to be great too.
What a replacement.
Oh, mate. And so maybe they're building him to be Herbie's replacement next year, because he has a quite similar body shape. They're pretty much the same size. They run similar-ish. So maybe they're making him the replacement. But yeah, what a win. What a win by the Broncos. It's all just about consistency now. Now it's almost like, all right, guys, we know you're a quality side. So there's that question. The question of confidence should not be there for the Broncos now. The only question now is, how professional are you? Can you do it the whole season? That's the question the Broncos have. Now on to the Cowboys. Oh, they hung in there. They really did hung in there. This is an interesting one. I do think Broncos were like clearly the better side, even though they went in halftime at 10-all. And once again, the Cowboys faded quite hard in the second half. But it wasn't alarming. Like, they lost. Scotty Drinkwater went off for 10. And then someone else got sent for 10, didn't they, as well?
Yeah. No, just Drinky.
Just Drinky?
Yep.
So they lost their main guy that gives them points for 10. So, yes, it's a concern they got 28 put on them. But we're talking about a team that just beat the Penrith Panthers the week before. So it's not like they're playing a bottom-tier team. Right now, clearly the Broncos are playing like a top-4 side. Now, it's a not ideal situation, but I also don't think it's warning signs or anything for the Cowboys.
Yeah, nor do I. And I think you just, unfortunately, hate to say it, but I think we just need to give a lot of credit to Brisbane. I mean, I think the Cowboys, when you go back and watch that game, and I had to rewatch it because we were at the pub, the Cowboys had all the ball for the first 8 to 10 minutes.
Yep.
And I think that, and they still scored in that period, obviously, but I'm not sure how many teams would have come back from that first 10-minute onslaught with the Cowboys. Like, Tamalolo was bowling through years.
Yeah.
He was cruising, and then the Broncos clicked into gear, and I think credit to the Brisbane Broncos for getting up there, but I'm not panic stations for the Cowboys. The faders thing is interesting. I did it last week as well.
Yeah, it's
did
2 weeks in a row.
And we understand it's only 2 weeks, but if it does become something over the next few weeks, something to keep an eye on there.
For sure. What do you reckon about the Cowboys, Timmy?
Yeah, not alarm bells at all, mate. I'm not saying the Broncos are a better team, but the Cowboys were beaten by a better team on the night, and full credit to the Broncos for the way they turned up. I thought Jason Taumalolo was big, 52 minutes, had over 200 metres, 6 or 7 tackle busts. Jeremiah Nanai is the one that is frustrating me because the highs are so high. Like, scored another double, not just off a kick, ran a beautiful line for a try. You go, how good is this kid? Mate, he's had 7 runs in 2 weeks. He had 4 runs on the weekend for 31 metres. I'm like...
8 missed tackles.
The highs and lows are there for... And what probably annoys me, in terms of missed tackles and all that, he was terrific in Origin last year and he got around his defensive issues. He's very young. He'll get on top of it. It's just the effort of 7 runs in 2 weeks. Why are you only having 7 runs?
Yeah. Nanai is an interesting one because he tends to have this, doesn't he? Like, he'll have a couple of games where you go, what the hell was that? And then he'll string 5 games together where you go, oh my God. So I think this is the downside of being young. It takes some players, it takes a few years to get that week in, week out, 7 out of 10, no lower. Like, it was something that a lot of the senior players used to drill into us when we were coming through, is like, we'd have a really good game and they would say to us after that good game, look, great, you had a good game, but you need to close the distance between your worst game and your best game. That's what makes a first grader. The good games don't make a first grader. The bad games don't. It's the distance between your best and your worst.
And that's where I think a James Tamo or a Jordan McLean, known rep players, in particular James Tamo, I imagine he would be saying to him, mate, you just come back from a World Cup, you've had 7 hit-ups in 2 weeks. You're an extremely talented player, but you need more than that consistently.
It's why I had him in my team of the week because of the flashy moments, the good tries and that, but I'm supposed to sit there now and look at the stats and go, you know what, like I want the 15 to 20 run back rower who works their ass off all day. Like the value of that to a team is so much more. So it's probably one that I regret in my team of the week, but there needs to be bigger output than that.
Well, you know what? He's not as bad, but he's a bit similar to Selwyn Cobbo, where you see him score 3 tries and you go, oh, but also when you look at some of the... He's not as... Like, Selwyn Cobbo is truly like fucking night and day. He can literally win you the match and have 6 errors. Yeah. And you're sitting there going, what an incredible player. Nanai is not that bad at all, but he's definitely got to fix that little... You can't have... Basically, his goal this year should be like, I don't have a game where I have more than 5 missed tackles. And I should try to get through games with like 1 or 2 missed tackles.
For sure. And there were games last year where he got into double digits for missed tackles, and we said then, this is really alarming. It shouldn't be the case. Plays Origin, plays Kangaroos.
Was he Dally M back rower last year?
He must have gone damn close.
So like you're a Dally M back rower now. Like,
you're a Kangaroos back rower. You can't be missing 8 tackles.
Yeah, you really cannot. And it's not like, and this is no disrespect to Catewell or Ricky, but they're not Kikau.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, they're not Kikau or Olakawatu or whatever. So I think we'll see a big game from Nanai next week. I really do. Taumalolo. I mean, look, Nanai. Just look to Taumalolo.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a game breaker? He's a guy that for 10 years now has produced week in, week out consistency, and it's gone a bit quiet the last year or two because, you know, the media plays such a big part in players' profile and like who they hype up and who they don't. But if you ever wanted an example of a player that has it in him to break any game open at any point, but still does all the hard yards, it's Jason Taumalolo. I honestly think Jason Taumalolo, on his best day, is the greatest forward of all time. Because not only do you get consistency, he can do things no other forward's ever done before.
On his best day, yeah.
On his best day. Like, even career-wise, I would consider him as one of the greatest forwards of all time.
Yeah, I think in probably the hardest era to be a forward as well, realistically.
And so, you know, Nanai may not be able to relate as well to, say, a Kurt Catewell, because Kurt Catewell's a battler that gets through all his work. He's not going to have the highs that Nanai has, but he's not going to have the lows either. But he probably could relate to Taumalolo, because Taumalolo is really the only other player in the NRL that could break a game the way Nanai can.
Yeah.
So hopefully Taumalolo can take him under his wing and go, look, I get it, bro. Sometimes in games, you know, you're focused on the big moments. I used to be like that when I was younger, but this is the way that you get an 8 out of 10 every week.
Steve Menzies would be a great guy for him to sit down and have a chat with, I reckon. Very similar players, obviously had all the upside in the world, Menzies, but was also, you knew that he'd put his head where most wouldn't put their foot every single week. And he doesn't have to be that maniac sort of guy, but you just need a little bit more output. You're a Kangaroo, you're one of the higher paid forwards. The young guys are looking to you in those moments. And you got to do both sides of it.
Outside of that, Jordan McLean got through a bunch of work, 32 tackles, 0 misses, 142 metres run, 70 post contact. I mean, hasn't his career just completely turned around? What an incredible example of Todd Payton's system. You know, an interesting call by Payton, moving Hiku to fullback and not Holmes. What was up with that?
I wonder if it was just defensively. Hiku wasn't having a great game in defence. I wonder if that's why he made the move, if it was more of a defensive thing than an attacking thing. Because I think if you asked 100 people who's the better fullback out of Val Holmes, Peter Hiku, I don't know if Peter Hiku would get a vote just quietly. And that's nothing against him. It's just Val Holmes is a genuine superstar.
Interesting to see which way they go this week, because
Hiku will probably be out, I think.
That's it. So Hiku's going, I think he's facing 2 weeks. Drinky's about 4 weeks. So, you know, immediately you think about Val the fullback, because they're going to be missing 2 centres. Just to give your boy Guru, Tommy Chester, a run.
Well, saying that before, I reckon it does. Yeah, potentially.
Because they're 2 centres down. If it was 1 down, you probably just move Val back, but you don't want to mess with it too much, do you?
I think also Chester's more of a ball player too.
Yeah.
So he probably suits their system with, like, he's more like for like to Drinky than maybe Holmes.
Yeah.
Now, whether he plays like him, we don't know. But yeah, maybe they do keep it. But there is something to be said about knowing your fullback is a good, high-quality NRL one that isn't going to make many errors. There is something to be said for that. So going to be interesting to see what they do. But look, not panic stations at all for the Cowboys. I personally think they just run up against a red-hot Broncos side. That right now, first 2 games, Broncos are probably the best in the comp.
Yeah, overall, I think so. Yep.
Just, again, it's only 2 games, to be
Yep.
honest with that. But, so I just think they ran into a red-hot Broncos side that had Ezra Mahim, Reynolds, Walsh, all firing, Haas, Carrigan, and I think they'll bounce back next week. Now, on to the next game. Roosters-Warriors. It's interesting because the Roosters are like a strange team at the moment because you look at them and you go, mate, this team should be belting sides off the park. But then when you look at the amount of players they have out, you go, okay, there are some younger fellas in there. This isn't their full strength side. So you don't know where to land with them. Like, should they be belting teams or should they be building combinations? They definitely looked better. I like the fact that they completed, I think, 8 from 8 in their first whatever amount of sets. Now, Warriors absolutely butchered a chance to win the game, though, on multiple occasions. But in Roosters, I guess, weird defence, they also butchered many chances to win the game. So, massive shout out to Lindsay Collins, 77 minutes in the middle. Sam Walker also outstanding. Suoli'i, really mixed bag. You know, yeah, he ran for 231 metres, 66 post contact, 7 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, but he had a few crucial errors. Like even one of the tries that they scored, he ran away from Tedesco instead of icing it. Like lucky they scored.
That was all time, wasn't it?
Man. So, look, he's young. This is the things that you grow in. Like he's so talented. He's a superstar already. So Roosters for me, yeah, pass, I guess.
Yeah, I think, as you said, mate, missing so many middle forwards. I mean, if you have a look at that forward pack on the weekend, there was probably 4 blokes that played 35 minutes plus that in their best side probably don't play 15 or aren't in the side. Between Fletcher Baker, Terrell May White, and Ben Thomas, I mean, I reckon...
Even like, you look at the... Sorry to interrupt you, mate, but like Fletcher Baker, Egan, Nat, Butcher, and White, you would have Angus Crichton, Satili Tupanua, you'd have Lodge
Radley.
or Hargreaves,
Radley, yeah.
and then Radley at 13. So, like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And if Brandon Smith was fit, he plays middle as well. But he wasn't on the weekend. Was it a HIA that she's got?
No, he hurt his lower back, I
Lower
think.
back, yeah. So, I mean, if you were to rank their best middles, it would go Lindsay, then it would probably go Cheese, who they were without as well when they needed him there. So, I think it's one of those games for the Roosters that, similar to what you spoke about before, mate, everyone's out. It's all fuck. Just get a win in. Let's get out of here.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
We've got South next week. Let's just...
It's so weird, though, because you still look at the squad. They've still got Tedesco, Tupou, Suoli'i. He's also Akuso. Joseph Akuso. Okay. That must be his first name. He must have, like, 2 names as first name. Paolo, Kiri, Walker. I will say, I think the Walker-Kiri combination is starting to show a bit of fruit. That play where Kiri went inside, no look, cut out pass to a line run by Suoli'i was fucking orgasmic.
Do you think he meant to do it?
Yeah, I reckon. I reckon it was a set play.
I don't reckon he did. I reckon Egan just sensed what had happened, but...
You reckon Egan, like, knew to leave that ball?
Yeah, I reckon he did. I genuinely do, yeah.
Fuck, I don't know about that. Jeez, that is like on your feet, split set. If it's a play where he's supposed to get the ball and he just knows to go, no, fuck, one of the greatest players ever. But fair.
I don't know. When I watched it, I'm
But
not sure if it was
hit
a
that
set
line.
play. Yeah.
Like, why would Suoli'i be hitting that line?
Yeah, well, there was a gap there the side of fucking Sydney Heads.
Yeah. I don't know. I reckon, like, he hit inside the centre. I reckon it was a set play. But, you know, fuck, what do I know? Timmy, what do you reckon about the Roosters, mate?
Yeah, really hard to get a gauge on them, wasn't it? Because for all the reasons that you've just made, and like it's not just that they've had injuries and missing troops, but mid-game injuries that impact everything. To get these forwards earlier in the season playing bigger minutes than they otherwise would have. I see a stat like they completed at 90% in the first half and still only scored 1 try against the Warriors, who lost Jackson Ford, who lost Murata Niokora for a period there due to a HIA. So, I mean, it's not overly convincing, but at the same time, with the injuries, they still got the job done. Something that continuously crops up when we speak about the Roosters each week is, too many chefs in the kitchen. We add now to it, they had Suoli'i in that roaming centre role as well, which Joey Manu does with Teddy running around like a headless chook as well. Trying to coach this team and get all these blokes on the same page and combining with each other, I lose my mind trying to analyse and trying to just watch the game because there's blokes just going everywhere. You know, as I said, Suoliti into it, and we've said it before. If they can master it and make it work, they'll be unbeatable with these blokes going over the shop. But geez, it's a hard task.
I almost watch it sometimes and think, do you need to undercoach this side?
Yeah,
You just sort of let them go a little bit.
Schoolyard footy, go and throw the ball around, boys. Because Suoliti had one where he came across to the other side of the field, and I think he ran a short ball off Keary and went through. It was awesome. I love that Keary-Suoliti combination. It's looking very good. They were dominant together on the weekend.
I'll tell you what, a really good sign. Keary and Walker. Keary, 23 tackles, 0 misses. Walker, 25 tackles, 0 misses. Fuck, that's good to see from your halves. Like, from two small halves.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Especially from Walker. Just getting his stats up here. 78 kilos, which means he's probably 75.
Yeah.
He's still only 20 years of age.
It's crazy to think.
In 2 weeks, he plays his 50th first grade game. He's 20.
Far out. And it's not like they aren't hunting him and spotting him up with.
And it's also not like he's come off the bench for 40 of those 50. He's a starting halfback from game 1.
Amazing. Seriously.
They put him on the bench for 4 to 5 weeks to try and protect him. Other than that, they've just had to go, you'll be right, kid. You'll work it out.
Yeah, so Roosters really hard to gauge. It's definitely a good win when you look at the people they've got out. But it's hard to see. Are they premiership heavyweights? I guess so still. I think if it does click, they're unbeatable.
Just having a look at Sam Walker's profile here. Birthplace Leeds. You going to claim that one too for Queensland, or take him too?
Isn't Leeds in Queensland?
Yeah, Central Queensland.
So
we're going there on Friday, aren't we? Leeds.
Yep. I think it's east from. Is it east from Brisbane? I think it is, or east from the Goldie. Yep. On to the Warriors. What I loved about this performance, I know it ended up 20-12, but their defence was gutsy. They really were gutsy in defence. They worked their asses off. Obviously, Tohu Harris, holy shit. Had an absolutely massive knock, 144 metres, 60 tackles, only 1 miss. But then you go to Murata Niokore, 109 metres, 3 tackle breaks, 40 tackles, 0 misses. And so that's what I like to see with the Warriors is they bombed tries, some of the decisions and the errors going in. The game was there to be won for the Warriors, and they bombed it. But what I love to see is their defence. Sean Johnson, 21 tackles, 0 misses. You can build on the defence. And so if they keep down this track, I think they're going to win more games than they lose.
Isn't Niokore a huge signing? I mean, just think about what we spoke about with Parramatta before. If he's still there, I'd probably back him to win one of the last 2 games. Coming off the bench with his impact.
If they actually played him off the bench.
If they used him, yeah. But I think he has been such a tremendous signing. Obviously, Jackson Fall from the Dragons has been a great signing. He got knocked out very early in that game, so that screwed things up a little bit. Then Josh Curran came in. He got injured as well, so they might be coming into next week without both of them. So it'll be interesting to see which direction they go there. I had him in Team of the Week, Wade Egan. I thought he got banged and bruised early, but geez, he's a tough little kid, isn't he?
Yeah, you mentioned Guru. Curran injured there. Jackson Ford played 2 minutes. Charles Nickel-Clockstad went off. He played 53 minutes. Early in the season, coming over to Sydney against Red Hot Roosters. In the past, you could have seen that getting ugly very quickly and the scoreline blowing out. They could have won this game. Had a few little things gone the opposite way. So, the Warriors will take a lot out of this one. And I think, again, I know it's early days, but it just looks like a very different side we've seen in the last few years, doesn't it?
When's Metcalf due back?
Yeah, around 6 or 7.
Oh, okay. I was going to say if Chance isn't back next week, does he get a shot?
Bit.
I'll tell you, it'll be interesting to see what they do there. Obviously, Tomato Martin, he's played fullback before for the Broncos. Ronald Volkman's been on a tear in New South Wales Cup the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. So if they do have any injuries in the halves, he's ready to come in. And what is Chance playing this week? What was the?
It's HIA, and I think it's a pretty quick turnaround this week. I'll double check, but so I wouldn't be. I'm sort of edging towards them playing Tamara at fullback and bringing in Volkman in the halves.
They're playing on Saturday.
They're on Saturday. Okay, so it's a 7-day turnaround, so it'll be touch and go.
Okay, but look. Good signs. I honestly think it's good signs for the Warriors. And now the Warriors, notoriously show us good signs and then all of a sudden fall to shit. But new setup, new coach, rebuild year, you can build on defence.
Volkman's 2 weeks into the comp, obviously. 5 try assists, 5 line break assists.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
SJ, I thought he was good.
He was good.
Yeah.
He was much better.
Looked on that set play, the try they scored. He looked quite explosive. It was interesting that he ran that the inside ball. I think what they do, they had a switch or something. He ran that inside line. That he was the bloke chosen for that set play. Looked quite explosive. Set up a try off it. I think it might have been Wade Egan that scored it.
Yep.
There was also another promising sign. Early on, they isolated Lindsay Collins on him right near the line, one-on-one.
And he nailed it.
And he nailed it. Coming off the one where he let through Fitzgibbons early last week, it was a bit concerning, Fitzgibbon. It was a really good game for SJ, I thought.
And I think with SJ, very easy when you get to that age where you go, okay, I'm the organising seven. So that's just my job. I organise, I kick, all good. But what it says about that inside line that he ran was he's taken it upon himself, no, I'm more than that. I'm not just going to sit there and do my job. I'm going to be involved and impact the game. He would have called that play. He would have been the one to say, switch, I'll be on the inside, Egan pushing through. So, for a guy that had a really poor trial, okay last week outside of that defence, and then this week I think he was quite good. If he keeps just building on this, again, like a Sean Johnson playing good footy, that's where the Warriors can, beat some teams what you didn't expect.
It felt like a statement play, didn't it? When he even when he got to the full, he didn't try and step him, just tried to body up and managed to get the offload away. But it felt like SJ was trying to point something out there.
Yeah, well, and I love that from SJ because it's like sometimes you just need. Sometimes being physical gets you in the game. Like, why do you always hear get a touch early to debutants? Get a touch early, because what happens is if you don't physically get yourself in the game and get into the physicality of it, the game just passes you by. And so maybe SJ has just gone, you know what? Last week that defence to start the game off was poor. I just need to get really physical and then I'll just be in the game. I'll just be in the zone. Not bad for the Warriors at all. Now, before we get to the Dolphins, massive win over the Raiders. Let's get some shout-outs done. Bottlemart, Breckenridge. Woods Bar, Mitchelton. The midi is flowing at Woods Bar, Mitchelton. Colmsley Hotel, Maguire's, smashing through Bloke, both lager and midi. Star Liquor Warehouse, Runcorn. Star Liquor in Runcorn actually was with us years and years ago when we first started. They took on Bloke Lager. So make sure to get in and support Star Liquor Warehouse in Runcorn. And also, they're a new stocker. So if you go in and support it, they'll keep stocking Bloke. Black Sheep, Everton Hills. See James Big Fish Tavern in Caboolture. Black Sheep, Everton Hills. See James. Now a different place now. Big Fish Tavern in Caboolture. Seaview Cellars in Bommeris. Vincent is stocked up with both midi and lager. Steve's Liquor, Springvale South. Manager Stephen is stocked up with a lager on special at the moment for $59.95 a case and is running a soccer jersey promotion. So if you buy a Bloke case or a six-pack, you get a chance to win a Bloke soccer jersey for free. Grape and Grain Moorabbin. Owner Paul is stocked up with both midi and lager. Steve's Liquor Highton. Manager Wayne is stocked up with both midi and lager and is running a party shirt promotion. You buy a six-pack or a case, chance to win a Bloke party shirt. Celebration St Kilda. Manager Matt is stocked up with both midi and lager and is running a party shirt promo also. Let's get into the Dolphins hooker. Dolphins hooker. The first note is Dolphins hooker. Jeremy Marshall King was posting. Don't get into the Dolphins hooker. Doesn't exist. Dolphins v the Raiders. What an incredible win. 2 for 2. It is absolutely phenomenal what they're doing up there. And the way they're doing it as well, like I thought that they were a bit unlucky to lose, not a bit unlucky, extremely unlucky to lose Sean O'Sullivan at the end there. I'm blown away by the fact they opened the season 2 for 2. They play the Knights next week. Now, are they guaranteed to win? Obviously not, but it is a winnable game, which is funny because I feel like at the start of the year, you would have said, Knights favourite for sure heading into Knights-Dolphins game. Are the Dolphins favourites heading into Knights-Dolphins?
I think they, without a doubt, would be. For sure, I'd be confident in saying they are. Mate, I think the Dolphins have been so refreshing, and I don't want this to take away from what the Dolphins have done, but haven't they just reminded us how much of a simple game rugby league can be? You get your fundamentals right, you get your 1%ers right, you kick to your right spots, you complete your sets, you don't need superstars everywhere. You need a guy like Sean O'Sullivan who's, probably smarter between the ears than most halfbacks in this competition. It's not a hard game. I think it's an overcomplicated game a lot of the time. And guess who's leading that charge? Wayne Bennett once again.
Yeah, it's amazing. it's so good for rugby league. And, I think there was a big question about, was there enough talent to bring in another team? There clearly is enough talent. I've always been of the mind is there's not enough good coaches and there's not enough good systems. That's the issue is not the playing talent, it's the systems they're in and the coaches that they're being coached by. And I think Wayne Bennett kind of proves that. He's taken a bunch of players that everyone said wouldn't fire a shot, or at least would be okay, just they wouldn't make the 8. I think most people have them bottom 4. Man, look, I still don't have them in my 8, but if you said Dolphins are in my 8, it would not, it's not, I'm not sitting there going, come on, bro, you're being a bit ambitious there. I'm going, I can see the logic behind it. They're a gritty, gutsy side that get through their sets and play good, simple footy.
Yeah, it's just, and I don't want to be negative, but I just think that being the gutsy footy side, I just think it'll be interesting to see how they go across 27 weeks with that. That's where the week-to-week challenge really starts.
So you still have them in your bottom 2?
Not in my bottom 2, but I'm not. I want to see a little bit more. I mean, I was sitting in this chair last year going, "You're an idiot. The Newcastle Knights are the real deal." They fucking weren't. I just want to see a little bit more. I want to see them this week without Jeremy Marshall-King. I think that their depth as the season goes on will be questioned. I'm not saying that I think they're going to be bottom 4 still, but I still want to see, as I want to see more out of every other team in this competition as well. They're heaps better than I thought they would be. They're tenacious. They hang in the contest, but I just think that it's a very long season, as we know, and I just want to see a bit more of them.
I personally will be shocked if they're in the bottom 2. Like, I'll be shocked. I just think that for what I've seen, for the way they play and how they're playing, that's not a bottom 2 side in the NRL. Like, as I said, I don't have them in my 8, and I'm not saying they'll potentially even challenge for the 8, but I can, like, are you going to, anyone sitting there, like, the bottom 2, they probably only win 4 games this year?
Yep. They're halfway there now.
Like, you know what I mean? I can see them dragging out at least 6 to 10 wins in the season.
27 rounds, but you played 25 games, a few obviously buys in there. So the bottom might be that sort of maybe 5 to 7 range, or 5 to 6, I suppose.
Yep. See, I can see them just grinding out at least another 5 wins. I'd be very shocked if they can't pull together another 5 wins in the rest of the season.
Yeah, and I come back to it last year. We said the same thing about Newcastle after 2 weeks, and I folded on my takes there, and they went on to win another 4 games for the rest of the season and finished on the same amount of points as the bottom 2 side. So I'm hesitant. I agree. I think the Dolphins are a different situation. They've shown more, but I just want to see more out of them. I want to see the week-to-week grind and how they go.
Where do you have them finishing? Do you still have them in the bottom 2 right now?
No, I don't have them in the bottom 2, but I still reckon they'll be bottom 5 or 6.
Well, fuck. That's a wide window.
Oh, yeah, okay, but we're not putting them in the 8, so where do you put them?
Well, I still have them in the bottom 5 or 6 at the moment. I think we're on the same page here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But it wouldn't surprise me if they are a little bit lower than that. They haven't really had a major injury yet, and when they do have injuries, the depth is the big question. Like the roster at the moment, they're playing very well, but when you go below those guys, there's a lot of question marks that have to be asked. Like, they lose Jeremy Marshall-King this week. Yeah. You got a debutant who's played 9 minutes 2 weeks in a row, will play hooker, and Cody Nicarima will be your other hooker. I think that's where, as they should, they're going to face challenges throughout the season like that. And I just think also that played their first game at Suncorp, packed it out, it was unreal. They then went their first game at KO Stadium at Redcliffe. I think there's a lot of emotion in it at the moment. You can't carry emotion for 27 weeks. I think that once we get into week 6, 7, 8, I think I'll have a better understanding of where the Dolphins are at and who they are as well.
From what I've seen so far, I disagree in the sense that I don't think they're actually playing off that much hyper emotion. I think they've got a really good culture there and really high standards that the Bromwich brothers and Kafusi have set. And so I just can't see a team with that kind of grit and mentality finishing bottom 2. Like obviously if they do, I'll say I was wrong, but they're just too gritty. They're too in the same. They go in the same direction. They're all behind each other, and the standards are too high for them to. So I actually probably have them around right now. I reckon they'll probably finish the 12th, 13th, around there. I reckon.
Which I think for their first year is a sensational.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
Because, like, again, most people said there wasn't enough talent for that.
Yep.
What do you reckon, Timmy? Have they moved out of your bottom? And obviously, this can change. Like, in a few weeks, if they're playing busted, we're allowed to go back and say, look, I probably think they'll finish 2. But, like, right now, Do you still have them in the bottom 2 finish?
I need to be very careful with what I say around the Dolphins, mate, because I can't really afford to come back here next week and just look like a complete moron again. So I've made enough apologies as it is. Look, bottom 4, I've still got them bottom 4, and I'm glad Guru sort of spoke first because it's for all the reasons that he just mentioned around the longevity of a season, squad depth. You mentioned that you don't think they probably are playing off sort of too much hype and hyper intensity, I think was the word. I think they haven't. It's one thing that I've seen in recent years and had drilled into me of any team on their day can get up for one game. And whether there's hype around it for whatever reason, on their day, whether you're the best or the worst team in the NRL, you can get up for one game. It's backing it up down the track and later on in the season and week to week. We saw it last year even as an example with Manly after Jersey Gate when they shut the bed and lost, 7 in a row or something. But the week that they lost all their players, they played the Roosters and everyone thought it was going to be a massacre. And the Manly squad that went out there, and a lot of it was a reserve grade side, busted their asses and they got up. But moving to the week after that and down the track, they folded. So, as Guru said, round 1 at Suncorp, their first ever game, hyper intensity. Round 2, first game at Redcliffe, hyper intensity. It's just, I think it's going to take a toll on them. So, look, they've exceeded expectations. They've certainly exceeded my expectations, obviously, but they get their first road trip this week. It's worked out perfectly for them in that the poor old Knights are decimated. So the Dolphins, as you said, they probably are starting as favourites in this game, and they can make it 3 from 3. I'll be tipping the Dolphins, I think. But in terms of finishing position, bottom 2 to bottom 4 more conservatively is probably still where I've got them.
And I also think, I completely agree with everything you said about their building culture with Yukafusis, these sort of guys. It was the back end of last season that we were sitting there, once you got the week-to-week grind, we're going, how are these guys going to go at the Dolphins over an entire season? So I'm just hesitant at the moment to get too high on them, and I know that you're not. And to be fair, I'm going to tip them to win this week again. I think they beat Newcastle, so there's 3 wins all of a sudden. Halfway to finishing 13th straight away, which is a fair point. I just worry that if they lose 2 in a row, 2 could turn into a lot more, I reckon.
Yeah, I just think that, like, with the leaders that they've got to the club and with Wayne, they're going to jag wins. Like, they're just going to find a way to get, I don't know. And, like, as I said, I don't have them in the top 8. I don't even have them battling for the top 8 at the end of the year. But I reckon around the 12th mark is, at the moment, where I think they're going to land. They're going to be a real tough team to play because they may go on a losing streak, but all of a sudden they pull it together and they fucking blow you off the park and you go, fuck. As a team, you go there thinking you're going to dominate and you don't. So, yeah, it's going to be real interesting to see how they go. I love what I've seen. I really have. And, again, watching the Stan documentary, guys, please go and watch it. And just hearing the thought process that's gone into that roster. Maybe that's why I'm a little bit higher on them after seeing the thought process.
I haven't watched that, to be fair.
Yeah, man.
I'm looking forward to watching it.
One thing they have lost now, Kempy, is the ambush factor. Round 1... I think people are probably thinking easy beats. I'm almost certain the Roosters were thinking easy beats. They might not say that was the attitude, but I reckon they were going into that game pretty confidently. They came out and won that. Round 2 against the Raiders. Now, after seeing round 1, the Raiders wouldn't have been as confident, but they would have still been going, you know what, hype started after round 1, we can win this game. It was a wet game up there. It was perfect for Wayne Bennett's style of footy. Guru, you touched on the simplicity of it and how effective it is. Super effective in those conditions, but they're not going to get any complacency from opposition going into games for the rest of this season because they've shown that they're absolutely NRL quality and they're not here to make up numbers.
Well, look at this. Raiders had 52% possession, a high completion rate at 82% completion. Dolphins had 48% completion and 48% possession, 75% completion rate. And like when I see stuff like that, I'm going, like the Raiders only missed 13 tackles.
Yep.
And the Dolphins still won the game. Like that to me is incredible.
The Raiders had 2 tries and the Dolphins had a sim bin before the Dolphins scored their first point and they found a way to win.
It's amazing. Yeah. Like, and I just don't know does emotion get you that? I don't know. Fuck, it gets you 40 minutes of it. Does it get you 2 weeks of it? I don't know.
I personally think the 2 weeks starting at the 2 stadiums, I think that's played a role in the first 2 weeks.
Well, it actually works perfectly because now they're going to the Newcastle Knights Stadium, which will be fucking packed out. Well, not packed out, but big turnout.
Yeah.
So like they've got another big stadium game. Yeah. So look, mate, I think it's incredible what they're doing. I really think it's incredible. And like some of the stats, some of their players, like you got Marky Nichols, the GOAT, coming off the bench, 50 minutes, 185 metres against a Raiders forward pack. Not just like we're talking super aggressive Raiders. 71 post contact, 30 tackles, only one miss.
Yeah. How good coming up against his old club as well, the Canberra. To be fair, he's had more clubs than Tiger Woods. Old Casey Nichols has been. Went from the Raiders to the Storm to the Bunnies up to the Dolphins. He's a journeyman, but how consistent is he?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's not punching out 150 metres here or 150 there. He's so consistent nowadays. He always was, but bloody hell, he's turned into a footballer.
Last 3 years, I reckon. Ever since Wayne.
Yeah.
Ever since Wayne.
Yeah.
He's
Wayne
been
at the
super
Bunnies.
consistent.
And isn't it interesting that like two of the greatest coaches in the game, Craig Bellamy and Wayne Bennett, that all over him. They loved Mark Nichols and wanted him at their club.
We spoke about him on Beers and Break Evens the other day, but he wasn't named when we did our show last Monday. Came off the bench, Mason Teague, another one that they've got from the Penrith Panthers.
Good sort.
Oh, yes, very good sort. Yeah, does well for himself.
Just quietly.
9 hit-ups, 100 metres, 29 tackles. That's in his debut being a smaller forward coming up against the Canberra Raiders.
Yeah.
Very good. And that's where we said in the preseason, between him, Katoa, Jack Bostock, like there's a heap of guys there that they could be the next generation sort of stars, and they are well set up in that regard. I thought my favourite moment of the entire weekend was when Sean O'Sullivan got sin-binned off the field and he was standing on the sideline. He was almost in tears because that's how much it meant to him and how much he wanted to win that game of football. I love seeing that sort of emotion from guys, especially from a guy that it's all between his ears. Like you speak about like Chad Townsend, if you put him in a skill test of how he'd go compared to other halfbacks. Mate, Sean O'Sullivan would still be a mile behind Chad in that, but between the ears, he just pulls the right rein every single time.
My moment of the weekend, of the whole weekend, the game's on the line. The game is on the fucking line. You're at your first home ground game, Redcliffe. It's slippery conditions. You would have every right to just play it safe. Isaiah Katoa says, give me the fucking ball. Goes deep into the line. Dummy, out the back. And he's basically saying to the winger, you need to make a big play to stop this play. Like the guts to not only... We would have been giving him a rap if he just made the play and they got tackled. But the guts to execute that play the way he did in such a big moment is phenomenal. People don't understand how much pressure... A lot of halves, when they're younger... say send the ball the other way. Like, I don't want to be the guy on social media that everyone's... If he throws that too far out the back because he's not looking or whatever, he gets annihilated on social media. Everywhere he goes, his family is saying, oh, have you seen what this person said about you, that person said... Like, it is so much bigger than just, a bad play. Like, he has to live with that for at least a couple of weeks. And he nailed it. Yeah, nailed it.
I got sent a photo from one of the Dolphins photographers. Before he even releases the ball, he knew he had him beat.
That's unreal.
You can see the little grin on his face. Before he even releases the football, he just knew I had him beat. I've got Matty Tomoko. He's come in. I've got him beat here. This is his second game of first.
Second game, yeah.
It is incredible. And I've wrapped Isaiah for a long time. When he got picked, I tried to be very hesitant because I thought it's going to take him a few months for him to get used to the pace of first grade. He looks like he's got more time now than some halfbacks that have been playing for 2 and 3 years.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And he's not even a 5'8". He wants to be a halfback. And he will be a halfback.
And he plays his role so well. He doesn't overcall things too much. Yep. He doesn't demand he is humble. So good. It's so good to see. And you know what's ironic? Is there's a world where, and I know people are saying that, there's a world where there is a future where the rhetoric around Bennett was the recruitment was diabolical heading into this year. Diabolical. Let's say they keep on this trajectory. Let's say they outperform even what we're thinking right now and they go fight for the 8 and then in 2 more years, Katoa hits his straps, becomes the best 7 in the game or one of the best 7s in the game. All of a sudden, it goes from people saying it is the worst recruitment we've seen to this was a mastermind in recruiting. Like, that's the precipice we're currently on in this season. We've gone from people genuinely saying it's terrible to they've recruited perfectly the best young guys, really good old battlers, get the experience together, and then they move forward. I'm not saying they're anywhere near that yet, but they've taken the first step towards that.
I think Isaiah, especially for like where rugby league's at the moment, that we're starting the international game starting to grow so much. I think he's going to be a turning point. And you have a look at, your Tongan teams over the years, they've always been stacked in the forwards, stacked in the outside backs. They've never had halves. All of a sudden, this kid emerges. I reckon he's going to be a real turning point. For years how you've had Samoa Tonga, they've always got great sides, but then you've got Stags playing 5'8", Lolohea playing halfback, Peter Godinay jumping in at 7. I reckon he could be the start of something new here, and I'm so excited for it in rugby league.
For sure. And just quickly before we wrap up, the Dolphins, Hamiso. It was getting to a point, I know he's got so many years ahead of him, but I was like, is he going to be the star that we all know he can be? Is he a star? Holy.
There was games
He's leading
last
the Dally
year.
M's.
Yeah, and there was, that's obviously impressive. What stands out for me is that last year he would finish games at fullback and you go, he had 5 hit-ups. He had 19 in game 1, he had 14 in this game.
So you're getting a mixture of all the work, but the big plays as well.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about when some young players, they need just time to round their game out. He's been outstanding at fullback, and he's gone from, I'll speak for myself. I was literally going, I don't even know if he's a fullback, to he's outstanding at fullback.
That was my exact thoughts.
I'm
so far from convinced he's a fullback.
And now I go, actually, no, he's not even at his potential at fullback yet. Like, he could get better.
Yeah, not only is he a fullback, but sky's the limit with him because of his blistering speed. Holy dooly. So
Dolphins, very exciting. Now onto the Raiders. And I'm not saying this facetiously or whatever, Timmy, but I'm actually a bit concerned about the Raiders. I don't see the same punch in their forward pack that I used to see. Like, I know they're notoriously slow starters, and Ricky, likes to treat trials more as to just get them game time and that, but I'm just not seeing that punch and I know they're missing Papali'i, but it's still a strong forward pack that usually dominates other forward packs. And I am getting a bit worried that they don't have the same punch as they may have had in yesteryear. Not panic stations by any stretch. They've gone down in tight ones. They haven't had like a ton of points put on them. But this was a Raiders side heading into this year where I was like, I thought their roster improved so much that they could even challenge for a top 4 to a degree. Like, did I have him in my top 8? I can't even remember I did. But I thought there was a world where Tarpane, Papali'i, Hudson Young go to another level, and we're going, wow, the Raiders are here to stay. But I'm not convinced now. Not convinced that they'll even finish in the top 8. Only been 2 games, understand that. They might come out next week and belt someone and we go, you know what, the Raiders are back. But from what we've seen, I've been a bit underwhelmed, to be honest. Timmy? Yeah, well, so you talk about panic stations. I think prior to round 1, I had my reservations around them because of their lack of a 1, their lack of a 9, and I mentioned before about how the rain, the wet weather in Redcliffe suited that simplistic style of footy for the Dolphins. Mate, it suited the Raiders as well. They play a pretty simple brand of footy. We'll smack you through the middle, high completions, and we'll run you out of the game. So there's no excuses for them at all in this one. Like, if it was a highly expansive team who threw the ball around and went up there and tried to move around and too much drop ball because of that, it would have been a concern. But yeah, look, I actually had them when we did our predictions that if Manly were to fire off the back of Tommy Turbo staying fit, that they could drop out of the 8. Now it's becoming very concerning. As you said, Kempy, they were 2 very tight losses. Papali'i to come back into the side. So not panic stations, but it's not the most inspiring roster at the moment, is it? Yeah, and like when you look at the stats, like Tarpane still had a massive game. He had bloody 177 metres, 72 post contact, 36 tackles, 0 missed. But I don't know, they just don't have that same aggression that I've seen over the last few years. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'll tell you 2 things that I saw and I absolutely loved from Ricky Stewart on the weekend. I messaged you boys as soon as it happened. But Jackie Whiten swung both sides. Yes. And he scored a try 13 minutes into it. It was like, thank Christ. Took all of 13 minutes to have success with it. Yep. Jamal played as the 7 and Jack was going both edges. Really proactive move from Ricky Stewart. And the other one he did, and I don't know whether it'll be successful or not, but I like that he's trying it. Because there is a lack of spark in the side, I sort of wonder where points will come from at times. Tommy Starling came on and played as a 13, not as a hooker. So a bit like what they did back in the day, I know a bit bigger than him, but Josh Hodgson would go as a ball-playing lock. Now, we sat there all pre-season and went, who's the Raiders ball-playing lock? And they didn't have one.
they're giving Tommy Starling a crack. I know he's small, but we've also got a big gun forward pack, so maybe it can work. So
well, he has to defend there anyway.
Exactly right.
So it's like,
I'm keen to see how that unfolds in coming weeks.
what do you reckon about the Raiders, Guru?
Yeah, I sort of agree with nearly everything you guys have said. I think for me, I was watching them going, geez, Tapanay's getting through work, Horsburgh getting through work, Goular's getting through work, but it just lacked that punch.
Yeah.
As you said before, I don't feel like any of the Raiders players played overly poorly.
No.
But they're just not getting on the front foot like they were. I don't know if it's conditions. I also think it has been tough for them going to North Queensland, coming back to Canberra, going up to the Dolphins, coming back. So I think that's the NRL. You got to deal with that shit at the end of the day. But yeah, I'm a little bit nervous. I don't think it's panic stations, but I'm...
Well, the worry with the Raiders is like they don't want to be chasing points at the end of the year. You know, like every game they drop, it could be... With Manly firing, with the Broncos firing, that could be a death sentence to the top 8 finish for them because they were already hovering around that spot. And so that's if they don't pick it up and start winning some matches, like let's say they go, who have they got this coming week?
Sharkies in Canberra.
Like they could lose that.
Yeah.
It's 0-3. And then who they got after that? And so they're not like, for example, the Roosters, you could go, okay, drop a few games, look at your roster. Whereas I think the Raiders don't have really that luxury. I think they've got to be a bit better at the start of the year.
So they've got, as you said, Sharks next week. Then they got Knights, but then they got Panthers and Broncos after that.
So like, let's say they're 1 from 7. Again, put it this way. So they got Sharkies next week.
Sharks next week.
Then they got the Knights. So they'll only be favourites against the Knights, most likely. Most likely. Now, some may have the Raiders favourites at home this week. That's a tough run. That's a tough run.
That's pretty much how you started last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, we were like, from memory, we were 15th or 16th after, was it something like 7 or 8 rounds?
Then went on a crazy run. But it was only really Broncos' terrible form that gave you an opportunity to get in.
Yeah.
If Broncos just win 3 or 4, like 2 games out of that, the same.
I think you mentioned before that Tommy Starling came on and played a bit of 13. This won't shock anyone, but, obviously the Sharkies halfback, Putteru, that we spoke about a few weeks ago, he's got a brother that's playing for Canberra. He played lock forward in their reserve grade. 73 minutes, 224 metres, 36 tackles. I thought in the trial he looked really good. I don't even know if he's in your top 30, but I reckon he's one to maybe keep an eye on in the future.
Another thing, just what we need, another gun forward.
But he's a different body shape forward. He's not that, like, all your forwards are the same. Like they're all bigger body. I reckon if you can get a smaller guy who can defend like him and can just create a little bit like what Mason Teague did for the Dolphins on the weekend, it can come in handy.
The Raiders 4-pack with Jaman in it. Jaman Hopgood.
Yeah.
That's how you say his name.
Jamal.
Because it's got a little apostrophe. If he wants to be fancy with his little apostrophe, I'm going to say it fancily.
Didn't the Hello Sport Boys want him to bring out his own fragrance or something?
I'm not sure. Maybe. Probably. Yeah, not panic stations by any stretch for the Raiders. They've had 2 gutsy, close wins where they've been in the game in the last 5 minutes. But when you look at, like, as a club, you want to be progressing each year. And hasn't that kind of been the Raiders' story the last few years? Gutsy losses by 6 points. It's like you want to get past that and just hopefully they can. It's not panic stations, but it's definitely like, boys, we need to start picking some wins up because the games are actually going to get tougher outside of the Knights going forward. Yep. Now let's go on to Doggies Storm or Storm Doggies. Doggies defeat the Storm 26-12. What an incredible performance by the Bulldogs. Like, what an incredible performance by Serraldo as well, because you could see a clear game plan where they were genuinely like, throw it out the back, pass as much as you want, be as wide, expansive as you want. If you're going to be a massive nitpicker, that's probably going to be hard to do for 27 rounds. Like, there's no way you can. I mean, look, maybe they can and they create a new style of footy. So I don't think we're going to see the Bulldogs play like that every week. But if you're playing the Melbourne Storm down in Melbourne, I love the balls that takes from Serraldo to go, you know what? Let's not go down there and play Melbourne's game. Let's upset them. Let's play our game, get into our systems, what we want to do. And they delivered and nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. The Bulldogs looked phenomenal. And I think with everything else that's happened this weekend, it's going to get lost in the noise. The Bulldogs, who finished 12th last year, went down to Melbourne and touched the Melbourne Storm up. That's incredible. Incredible.
After this game, I sat there and I thought, there's always one of these games in round 1, in round 2. There's always a bounce back team that looks dreadful in round 1, always bounce back. But I did not expect it to be Canterbury.
In Melbourne.
Man, I don't know if there's many places that Canterbury could have gone to this weekend that I would have tipped them, to be honest with you. Melbourne would have been the last one, though. And Melbourne weren't in the game.
Mate, they were dominated.
They were smashed, yeah. Even if you just take out the scoreboard, just watching how the game played out, they were never in it. I would argue Canterbury got unlucky on a few occasions.
Yeah, well, I mean, Craig Bellamy literally said we could have been down by nearly 40 or something at half time.
They deserve to be, I think. Yeah.
It was incredible by the Dogs. And again, the Balls, rookie coach, lost round 1, looks no good. Comes in round 2, says, you know what, we can play it safe here and lose 16-12 and everyone will go, yeah, well done, 16-12, we'll cop that. He says, nah, I'm going for the Chockies and nails it.
And mate, I think, obviously Hopgood was my pick, but I reckon Timmy's nailed a bit of gold here in Jacob Preston. He looks unreal. He
does look unreal. What do you reckon of the Bulldogs, Timmy?
He's a goer, old Presto, isn't he? What you said, Kempy, the expansive footy that they played, I just did not expect that. I expected they could bounce back and play some decent footy, but the manner in which they did it, there's this new era for the Dogs, and a new era in one sense, but I think other people think, we want this, the Dogs of war mentality, that tough attitude, let's belt them through the middle, all that. Again, that would have been playing into Melbourne's hands. That's what they wanted early on in the season, down in Melbourne. And Stralda goes, no, let's play expansive footy. Let's outdo them. It was so impressive to watch. What a turnaround in the space of 1 week.
Wow, crazy turnaround.
All the negativity around them last week from what was a horrible performance. We did sort of say, though, everything that could go wrong in round 1 did. We were willing to maybe put a red line through it, but for them to dish out what they did on the weekend, oh my goodness.
Alamotti coming into his own, rookie, second game, 190 metres, 89 post contact, 3 tackle breaks, 13 tackles. That's against the Melbourne Storm.
Mate, the thing that stood out for me was that, they went to Melbourne, they won. Matt Burton didn't have a try assist, a line break assist, nothing, which to me says they're not solely reliant on Matty Burton. Whereas last year, if they were ever going to do anything, it was through Matt Burton and Matt Burton only.
That was the best thing, wasn't it, Guru? That all the talk of the preseason was left edge, Burton, kick out, Fox. It was the right edge doing the damage.
Yeah.
Flano had some nice moments.
I thought Flano had one of his better games for a while.
He was good. Kraz was unbelievable. Preston scored that nice try. The right edge was awesome. And that, how pleasing would that have been for Serraldo?
Oh, massively. Averillo, I thought he had one of his better games in his career. Kraz had a career best game. He was phenomenal. Check these stats. 24 runs, 2 tries, 235 run metres, 74 post contact, 10 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, a line break assist, 5 offloads, 8 tackles, 0 misses against the Melbourne Storm in Melbourne.
Yeah. And in hindsight, looking back to last week, he played 70 minutes, he ran for 155 metres, had 5 tackle breaks, and he had 5 offloads. But I think we sort of skimmed over it a little bit just because they were so poor.
Yeah. Karaz was outstanding. I thought Hayes Perham was better for sure. I'm still a bit unsure about his ball playing, but his ball running, definitely better. Alamotti, great game in his second match. Max King was monumental up the front. He was huge. And Jacob Preston. What a star. What a potential star anyway. Obviously got some heaps more footy to play in front of him, but imagine him when his body feels out. Imagine on the edge there, that tall, rangy, and he puts on an extra 4 or 5 kilos. He's going to be a nightmare. He mine's a little bit not as rangy as Sean Lane, but a little bit like that mould, a good line runner. Yeah. More agile than you think he's going to be, stronger than you think he's going to be. Yeah, a potential future star. Again, a long way from that. But if you went into a game and said, and Kickout had some nice touches, but I know they've got Preston named at number 13, but he played on an edge. He played edge.
Tyler Mariner went to the middle.
Yeah, so if you told me in a game that Preston is going to be the damaging wide running forward over Kickow, and again, I know Kickow had some good moments for sure, you'd go, you're absolutely kidding yourself, but he did.
And what a knock by Preston in his second game of first grade to play 76 minutes against the Melbourne Storm, and we come out of there talking about who was the damaging guy, Kickow or Jacob Preston.
Mate, it's I will say, if you have to be nitpicky, I do think Reid Marnie overplayed his hand a little bit. Made quite a few errors where he made 3 errors. He's just got to find that balance because like it worked for him against Manly where he was like really dominant, all that kind of stuff. He's just got to find, and because he's so competitive, he just gets in that flow. I do think sometimes he just needs to be like, you know what, let's take a step back, let my halves do the work, and then pick his moments. But I'm being super nitpicky here. I don't think it's an issue at all.
And I mean, to be fair, if he would have done that the week before, Canterbury would have been lucky to get to 0. So, it'll take time, as it always will. Yeah, new hooker and halves and while they haven't played together, but so many positive signs for Canterbury. I know you already mentioned him, mate, but I thought Averillo was sensational in this.
So good.
The hands he's got and everything, and I'm sure we'll talk about his try he scored. I think that probably said more about Melbourne than Canterbury, but geez, I was glad that he got it because he deserved it.
Yep.
It was interesting with Carl Oluwapu speaking about if he does get his opportunity in first grade this year. Obviously, Flano's done enough to certainly keep his job for another week at least. But the Doggies New South Wales Cup, they sent him out there. Our reservation was that if he does play NRL is that him and Birdo are both 5'8". They're ball running players, so who's going to organise and get that side around? They sent him out with the instructions, mate, play as a 7 and organise this team. So they're trying to build him into that.
Oh, so they did do that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
They won 34-4. He didn't star by any means or anything, but I think the point was...
Well, if you're a 7 and you win 34-4, you've done your job.
We know you're strong. We know you're quick. We know you'll score tries. Get this team around the park.
Did the vast majority of the kicking, had a couple of forced dropouts. I think it's also worth noting they took him to Melbourne for the week with the first grade team, sent him back down to play cup.
That's interesting. Wow. Yep. So, it explains why Flano had such a good game. He felt the pressure.
And good luck to him. His job's on the line, and he stood up.
He definitely did.
It's also interesting, they had Jaden Ockenbaugh. He came off the bench for Canterbury, and that was Saturday night. They sent him straight on a plane back to Sydney to play reserve grade the next day too.
So great stuff from Doggies. What an incredible win. So good. Now, onto the Storm, who lose Nelson Asafa-Solomona. If you thought it couldn't get worse, Nelson goes down for 6 to 8 weeks. They're absolutely in the middle of an injury crisis. So it's hard to put the boot in, but with the standards they've set themselves for the last 20 years, that was not the Melbourne Storm that we know.
An injury crisis hadn't impacted them in the past, has it? They found a way.
Yeah. Always found a way. If you're going to beat them, you're going to earn it. They're taking blood before you beat them down in Melbourne. A little bit concerning. Melbourne Storm at the moment, and they always prove us wrong, but we were right about them last year. We were a bit worried about their depth. That came to be true. I'm a bit worried about them this year. I really am.
And I mean,
to Storm standards.
Yeah. And I mean, I thought Eli Katoa was sensational on the weekend. I thought Trent Lewis was really good. So replacing Nass, I don't know who they get heaps more out of all of a sudden, if you know what I mean. Like, if they weren't already getting the best out of Katoa, I'd be like, okay, maybe he can step up there. But it's going to be a very interesting few weeks. You obviously got Christian Welsh. He's played 62 minutes on the weekend. He looked good. He's still coming back from injury, though. You don't want to overdo him with an Origin series around the corner. Very interesting.
He nearly missed 50 tackles. 49 missed tackles. Never see that at the Storm.
And if you want it to be summed up in a moment, it's the Averillo try for me. It's a very un-Melbourne play.
That was Nas, Solomona, who let that in. It was an absolute shocker. Now, if we can look past that, like, what do we say? We were concerned about the middles at the Storm all pre-season, even last week, despite beating Parramatta. We just said they can lose Hughes, Munster, whatever. It's obviously going to have a big impact, which they cannot afford to lose Nas. Even after that, he did let that try in. He took it very personally. He knew he'd stuffed up Nas. He scored straight after it, I believe it was, and I felt he single-handedly had, in that 10-minute period after coming back onto the field, I know he let that try in, but at least with ball in hand, got them back into that game. Then he went off injured, and it was just like, nah, done.
Fuck. Yeah, I mean, Bellamy was fuming. I would not want to be in that squad this week. Oh, man, like, for example, you look at Hughes' stats. He's got a try, 146 metres, 6 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, 2 line break assists, 3 offloads. I mean, they're good stats. Harry Grant as well, great stats, except for the missed tackles, had quite a few missed tackles. I just don't know, man. Like, Grant Axton played 70 minutes. He, ran for 90. He had 96 run meters. Tona Mapau had, probably not the best game of his career, made a few strange decisions.
Eli Katoa was outstanding, I thought.
Yeah, Eli Katoa was
he
really
looked
good.
dangerous. I touched on last week when we were sort of concerned about, we know he's got the upside, but can he go for 80 minutes? Is he solid? Last week he had something like 15, 16 runs, made a stack of tackles, was really good. This week we saw his upside. He had 2 line breaks in 3 tackles at one point.
We had 3 line breaks all up.
Yeah.
3 offloads.
His combination with Jerome Hughes looked so good. They were on the same page.
And it was the 2 line breaks in 2 plays that was the stand. He made the break, he offloaded, and I think old Eli Katoa would have gone, sweet. I'm ready for this game.
Yep.
No, he went the next set, he went straight through again.
So that's a massive positive that we're seeing Eli Katoa head towards his crazy potential. But, yeah, bit concerning for the Storm at the moment. I'm not sure. Yeah, this might be a tough year. Now, they've proven us wrong a million times before, but just going off the first 2 rounds doesn't instill me with too much, when you compare them to the teams that are flying, they're just probably a step behind at the moment.
I'd love to know the last time that a Melbourne Storm opposition made more errors than the Storm and beat them 13 plus. 12 errors to 8.
Yeah. Now, to be fair on them, they are in an injury crisis. They really are.
Yep.
Like Cam Munster, Nelson went off. You're obviously missing Pappenhausen massively.
Kamika.
They're missing a bunch of players. So, I guess their main goal probably for the first half of the year is just try to rack together as many wins as you can. Just fight tooth and nail. Then when all the troops come back, go on a big run towards the end of the year.
Yeah, because, for the next month at least, no Nass, no Justin Olam, no Pappenhausen. Once those guys do start to return, then it can start to turn. But the next few weeks is going to be tough for them.
But the Melbourne Storm, if there's any club that can bounce back, it is genuinely the Melbourne Storm. Now on the Tigers versus the Knights. Look, it wasn't the highest quality of rugby league that I've ever watched. In saying that, they're better players than me, so what can I say? But the Knights defeat the West Tigers 14-12. Absolutely one of the bravest efforts that I've ever seen by the Knights personally. Down to 12 men twice. So I think it's 25 minutes in total, I think. They were absolutely... What I loved about the Knights' performance is their attack was, okay. It was their defence. They were gutsy. And what have we been asking for the last probably year? What have we been saying? I just want to see some guts and grit, some line speed, some refuse to die. And that's what the Knights did. You can build off stuff like this. This could be... a turning point for them. They lost Kalen Ponga. They lost Brayley essentially in the first. May as well just say they didn't play with them. If you said before the game they'd go to Leichhardt without Ponga and Brayley and lose Frizzell halfway through, you'd say they're getting a cricket score put on them.
Yeah, no Adam Elliott. Tyson Gamble playing his first game. Lockie Miller playing his 8th game of first grade. The more you look at it, the more impressive it is. But I just hope I hope it is a turning point. Because if I'm sitting here going, it was great, it was very impressive, gutsy, but I'm going, where was that last week? And if it's not there next week when you got 17 back, what's going on? You can do it. You can do it in the worst situation possible.
Yeah.
They've got to be able to bottle that and use it next week. I thought the standout for me, not a standout, but I thought he was great. Leo Thompson coming off the bench.
Massive impact immediately.
Fuck.
That shot he put on, who's the hooker for 14 for Tigers?
Yes, Simkin. Yeah.
Oh, game changer.
Oh.
West Tigers had him under the pump. Boom. Thompson comes up with a big hit. They get the ball back. So Knights, I guess the big talking point is, first of all, we want to give a massive rap to the Knights for their gallant effort. Like Gagai, Dominic Young, all the boys. Jackson Hastings getting the win against his old club. Phoenix Crossland came on and tackled his absolute arse off. But the biggest talking point coming out of the game, well, there's 2. There's the Kalen Ponga head knock, and there's also the Jackson Hastings post-match altercation with Tommy Talau and David Clemmer. I guess we'll talk about that one quickly first. It's hard to have an opinion on it because I don't know, was something said on the field that was too far? Was he just upset because he had a broken nose and he got sent off and he couldn't play for the rest of the game, Tommy Talau? it's not a good look. It's not. It's supposed to be what happens on the field stays on the field. In the same time, like, if you just had your nose broken, passions are flaring, emotions are flaring. Yeah, a little pushing and shoving, but they walked away. There was no big drama. So I don't think it's a huge issue at all, but it's not like the perfect, we always try to say when the game finishes, you shake hands and, you move forward. I don't think anyone watching that thought that Jackson Hastings did it intentionally. Now, when you get your nose broken, you're not sitting there going, he did it. Oh yeah, cut him some slack. He didn't do it intentionally. You're going, that's a swinging arm, blah, blah, blah. So it is what it is, man. It is what it is.
Yeah, I thought it was very clear it was accidental, but I think also, just keep in mind, Tommy Talau's a young guy. I think that'll be something he'll look back in the future and go, probably could have handled that better.
To be honest, I think if you watch it, by the end of Hastings going, mate, I'm sorry, you could see Talau kind of be like, all right, kind of thing.
But I think by that point, Clemmer came over, and I think that changed the tempo of the whole thing.
Well, Clemmer's just doing what you do. You back your mates no matter who's right or wrong. Anyone that is in a rugby league team, you're not going to be like, hey, Tommy, relax, bro. Like, you're going to be like, I don't care what Tommy did. He's my fucking brother, and I'm going to back him no matter what. But if you watch it again and you watch it, by the end of it, you can kind of see Tommy going and goes like that, and he goes to turn and walk away. And so I think, obviously Clemmer coming doesn't help the situation, but he doesn't know that that's happening.
And I mean, I don't think people should be... I disagree with the way that Tommy Talau handled it, but we've all made stupid mistakes and reacted poorly when we're at that young age. If you want a great example, look at the guy he was talking to, Jackson Hastings.
Yeah.
He 100% would have handled that terribly when he was younger. He'll be the first.
There's a little pushing and shoving.
You're growing, yeah. Yeah, but it's more so, for me anyway, and I think Tigers fans feel the same from the messages I've got in the last 24 hours, it's the optics around the club.
Oh, for sure. It's the last thing they need.
And when Tim Sheens walked into the press conference after and they asked him, he said, don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean you don't know what you're talking about? In my opinion, him not knowing what they're talking about says more about the Tigers than them just taking ownership for it.
Yeah, I would just be like, Tommy was emotional, upset.
He's pissed off. He's a young kid that's pissed off.
And
say it.
Yeah, and he got a bit out of hand, but it's all good. So I understand Tigers fans being like, not a good look, we just lost, rah, rah. But I can also understand, like, you just had your nose broken. It's not... I'm not saying it's okay, but I am saying, like, you're footy players. Like, these aren't just normal. You just played a big game, had your nose broken, you're an aggressive young player. You're going to be a bit filthy about it.
And I mean, like, I don't know. Maybe there's more to it. Maybe Jacko said something on the field that we're not aware of, which quite possibly could have. I don't know. But geez, if that's the bone you're going to pick, Jacob Saifiti almost killed a guy.
Yeah, I know. It's silly. There's no denying it's silly. But it's not the end of the world. People that are trying to, like, call Clemmer and Tommy this, that, the next thing, these things happen. Not a good look. Tommy will learn from it. Clem's just defending his mate. He doesn't know what's going on. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah. If I got a blue after every time someone broke my nose, mate, I'd have an amateur boxing record, I reckon. Look, I don't want to comment on it too much because I don't know the details. I don't know if there were words said and whatnot that I might have missed out on. So without getting the full context, you boys summed it up well. It was not a good look, but at the same time, they had a scuffle after the game. There wasn't much in it. Move on and whatever. Good to see that. I don't mind seeing passions overflow at times like that. They were devastated after a game that they probably should have won. The Tigers, a bit heated, whatever.
Yeah. Now onto Kalen Ponga head knock. Man, what just a sad situation, because Kalen's sitting there going, oh my God, I'm going to be a headline for the next week. I love the fact that it's great that the Knights want to try him at 6 and whatever, but the extra chances you are by putting him in the front line, I don't understand it. And I think everyone listening to this podcast has, that's what we've kind of felt from the start, like keep him at fullback, get him through a season, then maybe consider it. Now Ponga's in a really tough situation where, four concussions in 10 months, I think it is. Does he need to take 5 to 6 weeks off? Like, he literally couldn't finish the season last year because of head knocks. And then when let's say he comes back, let's say 5 weeks, good to go, all the checks are clear. Do you put him at 6? Do you risk that again? I don't know. And maybe it's really unfair on the Knights to say that because, This can happen to anyone on the field. You can do that at fullback. You can do it in the front line. But surely being in the front line increases the likelihood of getting hit in the head.
Yeah, and I mean, mate, like if they do move him back to fullback, if I'm a Knights fan, I'm going, hold on. You traded Max Bradbury. You sold the farm to get a fullback. Now our 5'8's playing fullback where he was after one game and 1 minute. Where are we going to play Miller? I mean, he's an out-and-out. Like, he can play other positions, but I think he's a fullback. That's where I wonder if they'll be a little bit stubborn with this because they look stupid if they do move him back there, I think. It's the right thing to do. I agree with you. But the optics aren't great. If I'm Adam O'Brien, the optics aren't good. I've spent my whole preseason moving him to 5'8". He got one concussion. I move him back. You knew he was going to get concussed at some point.
And we're not being hindsight hero guys. I think everyone on...
We spoke about
the fact...
Yeah.
Keep him at fullback. In depth, that we think he should stay at fullback. He has the talent to work at 6, but keep him at fullback. Look, is it... What do you reckon, Timmy?
Well, we spoke about how, like, quite surprisingly to me actually, but I think 5'8" across all positions on the field had the least concussions in recent years in rugby league. Now, I don't know how much the Knights looked into that or if that had much of an impact on the move, but I think realistically, this is a different circumstance because firstly, Kalen Ponga going to the halves is going to get all the traffic directed at him. So he'd probably end up making, if he stayed at 5'8", 15, 20 tackles more than an average bloody 5'8" because of the teams trying to wear him out. And Kemp, you made the good point off air that because he's played fullback his whole career and he moves into the halves, his tackle technique isn't seasoned. It's not as good as other 5'8". So there's going to be increased likelihood of injuries and head knocks. So, mate, I was never really keen on the move in the first place, and it's so devastating that it's played out how it has. We can only hope and wish that Ponga's feeling all right and that he comes back sooner rather than later. But as you said, Guru, it's left him in a really interesting position when he does come back because I would say, yes, absolutely get him back to fullback, but you're basically putting a line through Lockie Miller then because you can also move Lockie Miller to the wing, and they don't need wingers, the Knights. They've got Young, they've got Margie, they've got Hunt. Margie came back through New South Wales Cup on the weekend.
Is there a world where you put Lockie Miller at 6 in defence and then move him back to fullback in attack and you put Ponga at 6 in attack?
Maybe you can do that.
Lockie Miller has played rugby 7, so he can defend to a degree. He is a smaller player, but...
It'd be interesting, and it's very much outside the box thinking, but they have to, and... You know, Miller is a fullback because of his kick returns and his yardage and all of that, whereas he's not really a 5'8". I'm not saying he can't do it, but and KP, we don't want him at 5'8" because we don't want him defending there. So possibly that can be done. I don't know.
It's tough, isn't it? Because then we're having these conversations, and the only time he doesn't play well at fullback is at Newcastle. Kills it when he plays Origin. He matches, if not betters, James Tedesco quite often when he's playing Origin.
And in regards to KP, I just want what's the best for him. Yeah. Whether it's him playing 300 NRL games and he gets through this, great. Whether it's him looking and going, you know what, I've made quite a lot of money. Is it worth having issues the rest of my life? I don't know. I just want it's the same thing. When Boyd Cordner was going through this, I said the exact same thing. Whatever is the best for KP, that's what I want. You know, he's a superstar of the game. And yeah, he has had injuries the last few years or whatever, but the amount of impact he has had on the game, getting young kids involved, you couldn't put a monetary figure on it. The amount of young kids that watched KP come through the ranks and got engaged into the game, you honestly could not put a figure on it. So I just want what's ever best for KP.
Have you interviewed Boyd since he retired?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did he like? Was there a certain moment? Was it just the build up? Was it a doctor pulling him aside? Was there a moment that he started to question himself whether he should be doing this?
Well, I think it's when he came back, he was trying to ease back into it, and he just didn't feel right. Like he didn't have that energy to get back into it like he used to, and he took a step back. But he said, like I said, because I tried to be honest with him without offending him, because I didn't want to be, it's such a sensitive topic. But I kind of said, mate, towards the end, you weren't getting hit. It seemed like you weren't getting hit as hard as it. And he said, to be honest, mate, when it's happening, you don't want to believe that. You don't want to believe that. And because these are warriors. We're talking about warriors here. And KP he's charismatic, he's cool, he's whatever. KP is tough as nails. Yep. Tough as nails. And so, as I said, I just want whatever is... If he comes back in 2 weeks and he's fine and everything's good to go and he plays 6 and he becomes one of the best 6 ever, and he doesn't get injured, That's what I want for KP. But whatever is best for KP is what I want, because he's done, people don't give KP enough credit for the positive impact he has had on the game for young kids. Like, he's the pin-up boy, has been the pin-up boy for how many years now? Like, there's so many young kids that watch rugby league because of Kalen Ponga. And it would just be sad to see him. He deserves better than that, I think. He deserves better than being chewed up and spat out by the game. He deserves to have the best possible outcome going forward, in my opinion.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
I don't know what the answer is, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. As I said, of course we're going to say put him back at fullback. We always thought he should stay at fullback, but so it's not like this has changed our opinion. We've always had the opinion we should keep him at fullback.
Yeah, and I've always had the opinion that I think he can work at 5'8" if Jackson Hastings is the halfback, but this was always the risk you were running, that he was going to have to make not 20 tackles, probably 30 tackles, because teams are going to run traffic at him. And the situation that happened, it wasn't even like they were targeting him.
Just a big, strong ball runner, head in the wrong spot.
It's going to happen. You're defending on the edge.
Fuck, it just made me sick. Poor. I just feel bad for him. And I know a lot of people go, "Oh, he's a millionaire," and don't feel bad for him. It's like, that doesn't change. It doesn't change how he feels. You know what I mean? It doesn't change the impact of this. It doesn't change the fact that he's genuinely going to have sleepless nights going, should I go back? Do I need to have 6 weeks off? Do I need to have half a year, like the whole year off? Do I need to... The headlines everywhere. He's going to have everyone he knows when they come up and speak to him, how's the head, mate? How's the head?
Yeah.
Constant reminding. So sending our best wishes to KP. He's a legend bloke, so talented, done so much in the game already. Whatever is best for him, I hope he sorts it. But yeah, back to the Knights. Jaden Brayley, obviously, best wishes to him too. He got his head in the wrong spot. What a gutsy performance. Lockie Miller, 9 tackle breaks, 161 metres. I will say, and I remember we were speaking about it pre-season, we said a bit concerned, or not, well, Timmy was like, I just want to see what his ball playing is like. I remember someone commenting going, are you serious?
Sprayed.
Massive spray. and I just replied to it. I was like, are you serious? He's just saying he wants to see it. And also, not everyone watches fucking rugby sevens. How would we know? But I think you've been proven right. I think his ball playing does need a little bit of work, and his pass selection needs a bit of work.
Yeah, still very much a question mark, isn't it? And it's sort of gone relatively to plan for him because his ball running is exceptional. He's racking up these big meters. He's racking up these big tackle breaks, but the ball playing is still a question mark. I do need to touch on Dom Young, who had an unreal game. I think you boys might have even had him in your team of the week. The challenge for the sin bin was one of the all-time Barrys.
Oh, I know Naden. I know Naden dived, but it's like, bro,
and
both hands on his shoulders.
The fact that Brooksy dummy didn't actually pass to him, essentially the second he made contact with him, it was illegal play. I was like, when he challenged it, and I was like, did I miss something there? Then they showed the replay. I was like, oh no.
I think he fell for the dummy.
Yeah,
I genuinely do.
No, I agree. Yeah. I agree. I think he was just trying to time the pass with the tackle. But the challenge, it's like, but Dominic Young, he made up for it though.
He did.
2 huge plays at the back end. The one where when they were a player down, somehow got back, batted the ball back towards the Tigers, but it went out. Incredible play.
It's desperation stuff.
Desperation. Love to see it.
Looks like Jacob Saifidi's facing 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Adam Elliott's still... I spoke to him the other day. He reckons he could be up to a month.
Oh.
So, obviously, we're 1 week down on that. So, hopefully, Ads is back soon because they're going to be without Jacob. So, it's going to be Daniel and Leo Thompson, who was great on the weekend. But once again, it feels like we're back to the same problem 2 weeks ago. Your 2 elite front rowers, then who?
Yeah. It's tough. But, so, Knights fans, just enjoy it. It's one of those wins you always remember as a fan. You go, remember that day we had everything went against us. Everything. We got the job done.
Isn't it the sort of game? And, I'll be honest, when I saw him named in the team, I went, why is Tyson Gamble named? I don't think they win that without Gamble.
He's such a
He could have not touched the football. Just having him on the field, being a prick for 80 minutes.
How Adam Dewey didn't punch him in the face, I'll never know.
100%.
Because there's that initial spray where he stands over him, you go, yeah, you can have that one, mate. But he stayed there and just kept going.
He followed him the next set. Did you see that? The play the ball was on the left-hand tram line. He was on the short side in front of the play the ball offside, spraying him.
Mate.
They couldn't go to the left-hand side that entire set because Tyson was carrying on, so they had to always go to the right. It was the best.
I cannot believe Dewey didn't just go, you know what, 10 in the bin. We've already lost the game anyway. I'll cop it. Honestly, because he would have got, what, 10 in the bin? That's it.
Yeah.
I seriously, like, you know, I'm not some tough guy or whatever, but I seriously would have considered it. Because they were never winning that game at the end of the Tigers. Like, I know they got that absolutely nonsense call, but they weren't going to win that game. Anyway, we'll get to the Tigers now. Adam Dewey had moments, but Luke Brooks just hasn't fired a shot this year. And it's like, I hate to say it, but Hastings came there with everything against him and beat yous in your own home ground with 12 men for 20 minutes or 25 minutes or whatever it was. His strike 6 gone. His 9 gone.
13 gone.
13 gone. And he managed to beat yous. Like,
first ever game with the 5'8", rookie fullback. I'm sorry, and I don't want this to sound like an insult to Luke Brooks, because I rate him, and I think if he would have left, he could have been really successful somewhere. But if Hastings was playing halfback for the Tigers,
they win.
They win 13 plus, in my opinion.
Oh, they win. I think they win for sure. Luke Brooks, we've been saying it for years, he has to leave that club.
Yeah.
He has to.
What was disappointing for me with Brooksy was that I thought for 60 minutes, 50 minutes, he was all right. Like, he had his moments. He had a really nice line break, sort of trying to get the running game going again. He belted a 40-20. He backed the 40-20 out with a repeat set. And I was going, like, not too bad. But it's the story of his career. He got to the last 20 where the game was there to be won for the Tigers and he went missing. And went into his shell. And it
was Dewey that was trying to get the job done.
Yeah, and they just lost their direction and didn't know how to, I won't say close out a match because they were coming from behind, but he went missing. And it's just like, that's when you have to step
He's got to go. He has too much talent to be playing at a club that struggles this much.
And he's got to go for the good of the Tigers and for the good of Luke Brooks.
I think Brooksy at a good club will kill it. I really do. I really do. He needs a fresh start. It's just not working. How many
He's
years?
28 years old. He could have another 6 years of first grade.
Yeah.
I think I honestly think he's good enough to be a top tier half. Now, not the best half, but a top tier half. I really think he's got so much potential, so much good upside, but too much water under the bridge at the Tigers. Like, too much has happened. It's just never going to work.
I think if he was to leave, I'm not convinced he would go somewhere else as a halfback. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes as a 6.
Yeah.
It's his ball running when he's at his best.
And the thing is that when you look at that squad now and they're still dishing up performances like that, I'm sorry, but you have to look higher than the players. You have to, because the excuse they were trotting out last year in some people, not everyone in the media, some people, they're not tough. They don't want to get on board with Michael Maguire. They're not tough enough. They're not tough enough. Then a new coach comes in. They dish up this kind of performance 2 weeks in a row. It's like at some point you have to go, okay, this is a new roster with guns in it, and they're tossing up the same. Something needs to change higher up, in my opinion.
Just watching them yesterday, you signed Appy in the off-season. Every time he took a scoot, can someone let the other Tigers know that Appy's on their team? They're not pushing with him. They're not providing anything.
Tell you what, in 2 weeks, we'll find out soon, but we're about to find out the value of Johnny Bateman. If he comes into this team and, look, he doesn't have to set the world alight necessarily football-wise, but the wraps around Bateman and it's there for all to see. It's just the impact he has to get people up around him, and he just leads by example. And whether you're inside him, outside him, you just don't want to let Johnny Bateman down because he will kill for you and do everything for that club. So I can't wait to see the impact if he has on this side.
Look, the good thing is that it's a long season. It's 2 rounds. They could come together. They could. Appy Coruscant gets more games under his belt, works with Luke Brooks, Adam Dewey. Dane Laurie, I thought, in ball running was really good, took some really tough carries, had a couple offloads. It's just the problem is it'd be okay if they had a solid year last year and then they, took took a bit to come together, but it just seems like that kind of performance is not roster specific because it's a new roster.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the concern.
At the end of the day, the Tigers are 0-2. They've had 2 games at Leichhardt against 2 bottom 8 teams, one of which was missing half their squad.
Meanwhile, the Dolphins, with the worst squad ever, apparently, have played 2 top 8 sides and got the win.
Imagine what the Dolphins would have paid to have either Dewey or Appy.
God.
I'll tell you, like you
Isaiah
mentioned,
Papali'i.
You mentioned Johnny Bateman coming back. I assume he'll play on the right edge. I thought the best positive to come out of yesterday for the Tigers was Asu Kapoa jumping in there. I thought he looked unreal on that edge. He's played centre in the past. I assume he'll stay in the 17, but geez, at least he brought a bit of punch.
Some aggression on the edge there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel sorry for Tigers fans. I don't know what it is, and look, they could turn it around next week, and it might be all a bad memory. But even if they do turn it around next week, like to dish that up twice at your famous home ground.
Honestly,
like, come on.
When Saifidi got sent from the field, I thought to myself, they're still not going to win this. They'll find a way to lose this.
Watching the game yesterday, I thought it was so evident that there was just no desire to roll up the sleeves and do the hard work and go through the middle and earn the right to go forward. They were just going from side to side, expecting it to happen. They didn't look like penetrating him on the edges or going around him. Like, they just expected it to happen. No, like, it's one of the old cliches in rugby. You have to earn the right to use the ball out wide, and they didn't. They didn't look like it.
And that was our criticism of Newcastle through every trial of round one.
Yeah, and the thing is, individually, they work hard, their forwards, like individually but it just doesn't seem they're not working always together. Like,
but that's the Tigers' problem from the front row forward to who's running the board. It seems like everyone's on a different page constantly.
Hopefully they can turn it around, man, because this can't continue.
I'd love to know what happened before Tim Sheens walked into that. Where either he didn't know anything about the situation and no one said it to him, which is bizarre to me, or they've gone, the best way to handle this is just put our head in the sand and pretend like it didn't happen.
Yeah, so hopefully Tigers can turn it around. Like, they got the squad. Squad is no longer an issue. The squad is good. It's good. It should be. Look, if the Dolphins can do what they've done, the Tigers can do similar. Now, on to the Dragons Titans. And before we get there, make sure to grab a case of Bloke beer. Plus, Ringers Western Bloke merch drop tonight, 7 p.m. New South Wales time, 6 p.m. Queensland time. Dragons, 32-18. Get the job done. Silence the critics for round one. Well, round two for them. Round two for us, round one for them. I love what I saw from the Dragons. They were energetic. They definitely were working together. For what they lacked in superstars in their forward pack, they made up for working, just always working together. Like, for a team that 2 weeks ago, I'm sitting there going, oh, their culture does not look right. They look like their culture was outstanding. It was incredible. So I have to eat a bit. I mean, I did pick them to win, so it's not like I was fully against them. But
I'll share a plate with you.
Yeah, but I didn't think they'd look that good. There's no way I thought they'd look that good. So I was wrong about that. Sloan was outstanding. He looked confident. He looked fluent when he ran the ball. Blake Laurie, the big fella, was incredible. A try, 137 metres, 4 tackle breaks, 38 tackles. It was a great knock by the Dragons. Sullivan had some silky moments. Seems like he really does compliment Ben Hunt quite a lot in the 6 role. Jack Bird, always good. Jacob Little was outstanding at 9. He was so good off the 6 tackle breaks, 132 metres, 25 tackles. What a win by the Dragons. What a win.
Yeah, it was great. And from the 30th minute onwards, Dragons won that 32-8.
Wow.
So plenty of positives. Obviously, the Titans started fast and you're sort of sitting there going, oh, fuck. Yeah. Here's the Dragons we know and love. But so typical of the Dragons. They just hang in there. They find a way to get back in there. I tipped them as well in this game, and I think round one they were able to get themselves up for it. Teams off buys, I've said a number of times, I think they're going to be really important this year. They start 1-0. I think that'll be a pretty good record this year. Once again, I want to see the Dragons get into the grind of things, but still players to come back. Jack DeBellin's still got to go back into this side. I don't think they've worked out exactly what their hooker rotation's going to be. I really hope they just let Little play.
Let Little play. Give him a shot.
How quick is he?
He is Like, because he had massive raps coming through the ranks at the Tigers, didn't he?
Yep. Huge raps, yeah.
And, like, so give him a crack.
It's just been injuries that have derailed him.
Yeah.
How good was it to see Tyrell I know it's an old cliche, but smiling.
I know. Enjoying
He's
his footy.
smiling. He plays good footy. It's as simple as that.
And so I wonder whether, like, after that charity match, Hooker's sat him down and just been like, mate, it's all good. You know, maybe Hook's learning a little bit on the go, you know, like to be less harsh maybe with the young fellas. What about, you know, he doesn't look crazy stats, but if you watch the game, Ben Murdoch-Masila on the edge there, he added some real punch on the edge, like real punch.
He's got impact, doesn't he?
Yeah, like, you know, he doesn't have crazy stats, but when you watch the game and you see the line breaks he helped and everything.
I just don't think he's made to play 71 minutes.
Oh, no, for sure. Like, he's too big. He's way too big. And also, it's going to be a long season. But for now, from what we've seen, they look good.
If Jack DeBellin is fit next week, do you play him at 13 and move Bird back to the edge, or do you just play Jack DeBellin as a middle forward, leave Bird at 13? What would be your approach there?
Oh, that's a tough one because I love Bird in the middle and he played so well.
Because I also think Murdoch-Masila could be fantastic coming off the bench.
Yeah, impact in the middle there. Yep, yeah, probably do that. Yeah, it's great stuff. It's really good stuff. I still don't have them in my 8, but if they keep playing like that, there's no way they're getting near a spoon.
You know who else was good coming off the bench, and he's shown promise a few times throughout his career, but Zane Musgrove. Came on, 15 hit-ups, 150 metres. He's always got impact. He just can't keep it together for 3 months.
So aggressive.
It's unreal. Yeah. And shout out to Toby Couchman, made his debut. I think it finished an injury for him, though. But Couchman's, there's a set of twins there. I think Jake's the other one. Local juniors and whatnot. So congratulations to Toby.
What did you think of the Dragons, Timmy?
How was Benny Hunt? 2 forced dropouts, a try, 2 line breaks, line assist, try assist, 3 offloads. He's such a freak.
Well, that's why I said in the preview, I think it was, a team with Ben Hunt in it doesn't win the spoon. I just can't see Benny Hunt winning a spoon. Doesn't happen.
And it was good to see as well Sullivan Sullivan actually kicked for more metres than Benny Hunt, so to take a little bit of pressure off him.
It's massive.
Yeah, and when Tyrell Sloan, full credit to him, mate, it was terrific, wasn't he? Still a few positional issues, but he's young. He's that'll take time for any young fullback. He'll be fine. So really promising signs for the Dragons. As you mentioned, Guru, and we said before about how you can get up for one game, or it's their first game of the season. Expected them to have a good crack, and they did. They look fine. Can they back it up?
Yeah.
Let's see what they do in round 3, their second game of the season. But all really positive signs for them 1 week in. Do
you bring Amon back in, or do you keep this team the same?
I think you keep. I mean, you can't.
Not yet. You don't.
There's no way you can. Sullivan was solid. Give him a chance. It's tough on Amon, but unfortunately, it's the way it is.
It is what it is.
It's rugby league. So let's hopefully they can back it up next week. Now on to the Titans. Oh man, how disappointing. You're just sitting there when they start fast and then get all those points put on them and you go, oh, here it is. Here's the Titans that unfortunately we know that they can put on points, but they can leak a bunch.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you go, oh, okay. Really disappointing performance. I mean, some positives is Tino got through a mountain of work, but when does Tino not get through a mountain of work? AJ Brimson, that try that he set up was fucking amazing. But really disappointing.
And you can't even fall back on, Foz didn't play. Yeah. He did play. He looked sweet. I don't know. Now I look back to last week and go, the Tigers are bigger shambles than what I thought, and that's who the Titans beat, you know. I know I never had them as like a top 8 team or anything. I know people were very excited about them, but I'm just not quite convinced. It's early days. They've got the squad to be able to turn it around. But the defence, 32 points in 50-odd minutes against Saints is a worry.
It's against Dragons aren't Penrith or flying high. They're solid, but 32 points. Oh, man. Timmy, what do you think of the Titans?
Yeah, I mean, the big pre-season talk out of last week was just the fact that they'd recruited with a defensive mindset, and we wanted to see them be resolute, and they were decent in round 1 with that. Look, I'll cut them a bit of slack just in that there are a lot of new combinations in this side, and we often talk about the impact that has in attack, but just as much in defence as well. So, look, it's 1 week. They were ordinary defensively, but I'm hoping they can get on top of it and be better going forward. I'm being glass half full with them, but it was a pretty ordinary outing.
We were sitting at Wagga Wagga on Friday night about 11 o'clock, and the boys were talking about local hero Joe Simpson, how proud they are of him and everything, and everyone was patting the guys on the back.
Yep.
And Tim goes, well, I wrestled him and pinned him in year 11. He's mine.
Oh, no.
Carried on an absolute treat.
Holy, walk us through it, Timmy.
You had to wait 3.5 hours to
I
bring
did.
that up. It's been nipping away at you this whole show and since Friday night. Joey Stimson, oh mate, my little bitch at school. He was.
Wasn't there someone else that came and taught you a lesson after that, though?
Taught me a lesson at school. Who?
Didn't you get a bit of bravery and then take on Adam Elliott?
Oh yeah, no, Ads. Well, the short. So Stimo was knocked him off and wrestle, whatever. No. And then we were sitting in the common room at St Greg's one day, and for some reason the wrestles were starting up, and someone goes, "Oh, who's fighting Ads?" And no one said a word. No one popped up. And I said, "Oh fuck it, let's have a crack here, mate." I lasted all of about 1.5 seconds. I think he looked at me, and I just went toward him. I just laid down and said, "Mate, I'll give you this one."
But yeah, look, it is one game with the Titans. It's just, they looked like they'd made so much progress the last game. They looked gritty in defence, all that stuff. It is one game. Look, maybe they got blown off the park by a desperate Dragons side that was under the pump. So hopefully they can come back and turn it around next week. Anything else on the Titans, boys, that stood out to you?
No, I think we'll just reserve judgment for a few weeks.
Yeah.
As with all
I
these
think so.
sides.
Yeah.
Who have the Titans got next week? Melbourne Storm up at the Gold Coast. Saturday 3 p.m.
Oh, fuck.
Good God.
Fuck. That is actually fucked. That is actually fucked. Oh, my God.
Yeah, that'll be tough. That will be tough.
All right, let's get it done. Tips for next week brought to you by Sportsbet, guys. Make sure to always gamble responsibly. You win some, but you lose more than you win, guys. So always just have a punt with money you can afford to lose. A bit of fun. Don't go too crazy. Brought to you proudly by Sportsbet. Our tips for next week. We have the Sea Eagles versus the Eels. Sea Eagles paying $1.77. The Eels paying $2.06. What do you got here?
Manly for me.
Manly.
Manly.
Because everyone's gone Manly. I'm thinking, do I go left field here? Nah, I'm going Manly. Okay, Knights versus the Dolphins. Dolphins are $1.67 favourites. Knights are paying $2.
They've actually, since I sent that, they've actually come in even further. Dolphins are $1.60 now.
Holy.
They were $2.10, 8 seconds before KP got knocked out yesterday. I'll take the Dolphins, mate.
Yeah, I'm going to go the Dolphins, and I would have taken the Knights' money before KP got injured, but yeah, the Knights are decimated. I'm going Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm going Dolphins.
Yep, I'm going Dolphins. Roosters, Rabbitohs. Oh, shit.
Jesus.
Allianz Stadium. Roosters paying $2. Rabbitohs are favourites at $1.81.
I really wish we had a team list before this, but I'm going to take the Bunnies.
Oh, this is so hard. As Guru said, just because I don't know who's available for the two sides in the middle.
Just want to see both forward backs.
Yeah, I'll go Roosters.
Rabbitohs.
I'm going to go Roosters. Roosters. Titans, Storm. Titans paying $2.50. I would put them way further out than that. Storm paying $1.54.
Yeah, Storm for me.
I'm going Storm. I don't think Titans are out of it by any means. Like when you boys saying,
I wouldn't say they're out of it, but I would put them. I'd put them further out than $2.50.
just in the sense that there's no Pappy, there's no Munster. Sofa Solomon has gone now from the middle. There's a lot of issues with Melbourne. They're going up to the Gold Coast. I'm going Storm, but I'll give Titans every chance in this.
Yeah, I'm with you, Timmy, but I'm going Storm still.
Yeah, I just can't see a Storm back in that performance. Like, they're going to get ripped to shreds this week. Yeah, I'm going to go Storm. I think that 250 is a bit. I'd go a bit higher. I'd go around the $3 mark, I reckon. Just because of the Storm after what happened last week. Cowboys versus the Warriors. So Cowboys $1.42, Warriors $2.90.
Cowboys bounce back for me.
Yeah, Cowboys.
Yeah, Cowboys.
Cowboys, yep.
Yeah, Cowboys. Broncos versus Dragons. Broncos paying $1.40, Dragons paying $2.99.
Broncos.
Going Broncos, and just having finished on the Dragons, it's a good opportunity to see what the Dragons are made of.
Broncos.
Yep, Broncos. Bulldogs versus the West Tigers. Bulldogs paying $1.54. Tigers paying $2.49.
Canterbury Belmore, thanks for coming.
Doggies.
Yeah, doggy's easy.
Doggies. Raiders versus the Sharks. Raiders paying $2.22. Sharkies paying $1.67.
It's going to be my upset of the week. I'm going to take the Raiders to bounce back this week.
Atta boy, Guru.
That's
Coming
it.
around, mate. The mighty Raiders, baby.
I'm going Sharks.
I'm going Sharkies. Going Sharkies. That's us done and dusted, but we have one more thing. We have one more thing.
Go get me one.
So last week he said he'd do a finny. So Timmy is doing a finny because the Raiders got beaten by the
Hope they
Dolphins.
sanitise these things.
Yeah, geez, I hope he did clean it.
I hope this. I haven't actually.
Yeah, do we want to get some fucking...
I haven't actually given this a test drive either, so I hope it holds it. I love starting my Mondays with a finny.
Oh,
Is this a 1 litre tin? It's never ending.
I don't think you don't have to scull the whole bloody thing.
Nah,
Jesus. You'll be right. Okay. There it is, baby.
Get it done.
He's a man of his word. There it is. The great Timothy, the Kuma Stallion. Don't say he isn't a man. Look at that. Look at that. I
Ooh.
tell you what.
How good are Mondays?
How good. Well done, Timmy. That's awesome. Beers and break evens. When's that on this week?
Yeah, Wednesday, 3 p.m.
Wednesday,
Beers and
3
break-evens.
p.m. Beers and break evens. What's the code to join your super coach?
Find out on Wednesday. Don't have it on me.
I don't have any fun on Wednesday. Okay. As usual, guys, I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.